Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow, the show that premieres here on the Outlaw Nation YouTube channel, breaking down everything in the previous week of the Schmoedown world. My name is John Barr. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday, at least one better than mine. My AC broke yesterday, so I'm gonna melt halfway through this show. And I bet you're wondering, well, John, if it's so dang hot in your apartment, why are you wearing two shirts? And that's so that way you, the audience, have to spend as little time as possible looking at my sweat, because I'm going to sweat through this first shirt like within 20 minutes easily. So that's why the second shirt is here, to make sure you see as little of that. And hopefully I won't sweat through it within 2 hours and 20 minutes, our usual runtime. But oh boy, for any hope for that to happen, we got to move on from me and talk about our other wonderful hosts, starting with the man to my right, Boggs. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm all good, especially after that disgusting start to the show. About your sweat habits, I guess. But all good. Lots of matches. Obviously, we've got a special guest on. Can't wait to talk everything Schmoedown with you wonderful people.
That's right. Everything Bog said is correct. We got a wonderful week of matches. We have a wonderful special guest joining us around 4, and I'm a disgusting, vile human being. Hey, Saul, our third wonderful host. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and I just want to shout out happy birthday, Dad, because today's his birthday.
Hey.
Happy birthday to everybody. Better say happy birthday. You don't have to put it in the chat, but you better be at home out loud, alone in your room, saying happy birthday, or I will know. Or singing. Oh, either or is great. Hey, that song's public domain now. You can do it whenever you want. Another thing you can do whenever you want, if you are, of course, able to, is donating to this wonderful show, because it doesn't just support us. It supports all of the wonderful content that you get here on John Roca's YouTube channel. If you are able to, we'd love to have your support. You can do that either by joining the Patreon, patreon.com/John Roca. You can donate to us via either Streamlabs or Super Chats. Super Chats you can do in the comments. Streamlabs you could do at this little link right here. But if you can't support us financially, hey, that's okay. We're still very happy to have you just watching us. And to prove how much we love just everybody who comes on and watches this show and leaves a comment, Saul, it is now the part of the show where we toss it on over to you to read some of the incredible comments that we got on last week's episode.
First, starting off with Chris Taylor. He just wants to let us know, fun episode. Thank you, Chris Taylor.
Thank you.
Then we have Jeremy Miller. Always great to hear from Nerd Chronic about his own Schmoedown experience, and I'm wearing shorts because it's too hot outside.
Oh, I know that game. I certainly know that game. I'll tell you that.
And then we have Drunken Prayer going, sad I missed it live, but caught up. Eric was great and enjoyed the short B&B show before the boss turned up. Love you, Soul. John, you did a wonderful job reading the comments.
I did all right. I did okay. I think I might have read a spam one.
Possibly. I made sure to keep the spam one out of this one.
All right. Well, thankfully, we got a week full of matches, none of which were spam, because they were all good. That's kind of a segue. This show is mostly just me trying to figure out if I know what segues are. But is that all the comments that we have? So before I so callously segue, there we go. See? Again, you're watching me get good at a job that I've had for a year. Get better every episode.
One day.
By the end of the show, I'll be an okay host, and we'll all be excited. But one of the things that we are, of course, more excited about, much more than me, is the Inner Geekdom Tournament. We just had our last semifinals match, that being from Saul over on the Den and Moose Haas of the Finstock Exchange going up against each other. And to talk about that match, we will toss it over to me to talk about how Saul won this match. Uh-oh. First things first. Spoilers. And, hopefully if you're watching this show, you've seen at least the 3 matches that came out on the Schmoedown channel proper this week. But just in case, we will toss out a spoiler warning for the pay-per-view that happened last night. If you have not seen that match, you got about an hour or so before we start talking about it, and you're going to want to watch it because it's crazy. But talking about this Inner Geekdom match first and foremost, I mean, one of the big stories from this Inner Geekdom match is that the question writers really know how to write some Inner Geekdom questions, because this was not, this is one of the things that we've been talking about. Not a high-scoring first round necessarily, not like, the perfect first rounds from both competitors that we're used to. this was kind of an uphill climb, more so for Moose Haas than for Saul. Saul only missed 2 questions, that being the Rebecca Ferguson Hercules role and the Iron Man 3 Mandarin bombings question, which Moose Haas also missed. Unfortunately, Moose Haas had a couple other misses under his belt, some of which were just kind of due to those one-word off situations. For example, the Mask of Zorro quote. I believe Moose put Legend of Zorro, which was the wrong one. It's one of the 2 movies. But we were looking at a 4-8 score coming out of round 1. Obviously, not like zipped up, it's over, it's done. But it's tough to look at that. Especially when you considered Saul somebody that had a pretty solid performance. I believe TKOing Chance Ellison in the first round of the tournament, who won the tournament last year. So, I mean, Boggs, I'll toss it on over to you. This is what's been so interesting about this Inner Geekdom tournament is we've seen just a whole bunch of reversals of fortunes throughout this thing.
Yeah, so I think every match in this tournament has been a TKO so far. So yeah, a little surprising. Obviously, it is a smaller tournament than what we had last year. But just saw in his like digital kind of space, he's just really good. And getting 8 in a the questions are harder in this tournament than obviously previously on in the year. He just done really well. So yeah, a little I say underwhelming from Haas, especially after he got that big win against Chance. It was close a few times, going into the second round as well. He was close with some more questions as well. But yeah, he just, Saul's just, he's just locked in. He wants that redemption after that number 1 contender loss. And yeah, he's coming through strong. And if you're not going to match him, then you're probably going to get TKO'd.
That's right. And yeah, definitely want to give Moose Haas some credit here. Obviously, when you look at round 2, Saul got spinner's choice and Moose Haas got opponent's choice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a tough thing to deal with. However, also important to make sure we give Saul his credit because he knew exactly how to capitalize on that spinners and opponents lineup, getting to pick both categories and doing wonders with his choices. First up, Saul getting his spinner's choice and going with Superman. He got an 8 out of a possible 10 points. That's 4 perfectly answered questions. He didn't miss the, I hated even writing this, the Daily Planet moneyless years multiple choice, how many years they didn't make money. But Haas was not able to steal that. Meanwhile, you toss it on over to Moose Haas, who had to deal with scores and soundtracks. 5 out of a possible 10 points. That's not too bad. What is a little bit rougher is that there were 3-point steal opportunities left on the board when Haas missed his Crow songs multiple choice, and then the Power Rangers 2017 soundtrack multiple choice, having just guessed Power Rangers The Motion Picture, which I believe would have been the original based on the show way back when. And Saul was able to snatch up both of those steal points, making it 19-9 coming out of round 2. Saul, I believe all 3 of us here on the screen had Saul winning this match, but did you imagine it was going to wind up going like this?
Not at all, but that shows you with spinners and opponents, and like you said, Saul picked the right categories, because we've seen people pick spinners and get spinners and not choose well and not do well. We've seen people pick an opponent's category and then their opponent run right through it. So the fact that it did play really well for Saul today, he chose Superman so quickly. He wasn't like, oh, maybe I can take this or that. He was like, no, I'm taking Superman. Let's go. He did miss that one question, but lucky for him, Moose didn't get the steal. And then you also, scores and soundtracks. As a band kid, I love all the music and all like these movies, but even I have trouble with knowing who composed this or what is the name of a song title. So that's a really hard category for anyone. So getting that category, that's tough.
That's right. And, it's especially tough for somebody like Moose, who's really been able to ride a pretty strong and solid wave of momentum throughout. Obviously, he did take a loss to Amaru for that shot at the number 1 contenders match. But by and large, Moose has been doing pretty well throughout his Schmoedown career. And this was unfortunately the match that just saw a little bit more of a weaker point in his game, again, just because of the luck of the draw. He was able to get his 2-pointer and his 3-pointer, but then that 5-pointer. I forgot Priest was a movie. I'll just be straight up with you. Like, that's definitely one of those things where I watch it, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, Moose. Like, I know personally I never would have gotten that question in a million years. And unfortunately for Moose, that means that he is now out of the running once again for that Inner Geekdom belt. But good news for Saul, because he's now moving on to that finals match against Robert Parker to potentially get another Inner Geekdom belt shot. And also, Christian mentioned this in the game, Saul now has the most KOs in the division, which is crazy to think about, especially because, like, yeah, this is a guy that hasn't held a belt. Like, this is a guy who's gotten close, but even just getting close, he's still been able to deal so much damage. It is absolutely crazy. So, Boggs, I want to toss it on over to you because I saw this comment pop up once Thomas Harper was talked about as the Star Wars belt contender going into his match with Dimalanta. Some people were asking, is this maybe the moment where the Den could make a case for Faction of the Year? Could this be where they start to really rack up some points? Or do you think at this point it's maybe too little too late with only 2-3 months left in the season?
I mean, we'll see where they are at the end of the year, but, you know, it's hard to say Faction of the Year because, you know, we've got 2 players threatening for, you know, no more contender matches, title shots. No one else is really, you know, apart from Harper and Saul. Obviously, they're the kind of MVPs of the faction, but that's not to say anyone else isn't good. Obviously, it's just, you know, in terms of winning titles, winning belts, these guys are up there. So I don't know about Faction of the Year because, you know, we need a few more people to get further in tournaments for them. But just want to say for Saul, like 4 wins this year, either all the 4 wins are by TKO or KO. You know, he's such a threat in round 2 that I don't know the stats wise, you know, how many he's kind of picked up, but yeah, in this match getting 3 points, it's like it is intimidating in round 2. Like, you don't know if you don't know the answer, should I guess it? Is it hard enough that he, like, would it be, you know, to go to multiple choice, you know, narrowing it down to 1, or shall I guess? And then if it might be harder for him to guess, or if he gets multiple choice, he's got more multiple choice options to steal. So I get that predicament playing against him, and I think maybe people get in his head during that. People get in his head during that. Or he gets in people's head, sorry, in round 2. So, yeah, I mean, he's getting the TKOs because he's so good in round 2, and it's super impressive. So, yeah, good on him. But, yeah, I can't wait for that final. Yeah, great match. But I don't know if you can see me. Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but we all got, by and large, what you were saying, most certainly. And you are correct that finals is going to be wild, especially because now we know it is going to be 2 sophomores with something to prove. Both of these competitors debuted last year and did not quite have the debuts they were looking for. Saul hopping into Inner Geekdom and only getting the 1 loss to Brandon Hanna before being out for the year. And then Robert Parker, who was like one of, if not the first draft pick as far as like non-signed folks beforehand. I forget. How did it even work back then? That was so long ago. That was when we could do in-person things freely and easily. But Robert Parker getting drafted super early at the very least, and then getting taken out by Chance Ellison. This is kind of the revenge tour for both of these 2. So Lord knows what kind of sparks are going to be flying in that finals match. But we can't talk about the Inner Geekdom tournament all day, gang, because we got a singles tournament we got to talk about too. It's full-on tournament season right now, and we were treated to 2 incredible matches for the singles tournament. The first of which that we'll be talking about is Eric Zipper of S.W.A.G going up against Jeannine The Machine of the Stars. This is something that we've had a lot of discussion about. I feel like both of these players, both people that have not always gotten the wins that we necessarily feel like they should, considering how long they've been in this game and how good they've been at this game. So this was a tough one to call, and I think only 2 of us, one of whom being me, made the right call on. So isn't that special? And we'll toss it on over to the person who's normally right about all picks, Boggs, to break down this match.
Definitely not this week. I only got 1 right, I think, this week. So it's probably my worst ever week, actually.
Trust me, as somebody that has gone, I think 2 different weeks with 0 right calls entirely.
Wow.
I feel your pain and I sympathize.
I don't feel that pain, but yeah, I mean, only getting one is. I feel like ashamed.
Wow.
I feel ashamed only getting one. So
He's so
getting
far
none for 2
ahead that
weeks.
he's just like, oh, I don't have to worry about it.
maybe, yeah. Because Sean's second. I think he got none this week. Am I right, Saul?
He got none.
Yeah,
Zero.
so it's like, come on, Sean, fix up. But yeah, going into this match, obviously we had the bottom two factions, in S.W.A.G and Rockstars, much desperate for points. I thought it was quite even going in as well. Zipper, a number one draft pick for S.W.A.G against Jeannine, obviously coming off that kind of really good performance in the title match against Shazam, and when she teamed up with Snyder, then ending first round. I like the kind of momentum shift in this round where, Zipper was down, showed a bit of character, and then came back. Jeannine missed, a few of the last questions and ending up 7-6. Obviously, there was a bit of a controversial challenge there as well. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyone, John, you have any thoughts on the challenge, with Raya and the Last Dragon or Raya the Last Dragon? Yeah, but she got the benefit of the doubt rule. Obviously, I saw some people, have issues with that because that isn't the name of the movie, but she got the benefit of the doubt. But technically, it's a wrong answer. So I just want to know if you have any thoughts on that controversy or round one.
I mean, listen, we're talking about Roxy Stryer, the manager who fought for Idris Elba being the correct answer and winning. That is not surprising to me that she won this challenge. And I would say that this challenge was less wild than that one of the past. So maybe that shows where our standards are at. But it's a nice little reminder that when Roxy is able to be on her game, like when she's able to kind of gain some momentum, get some victories for her players as a manager, she's able to fight for her competitors, which is, it's a great testament to how good she is, even if her faction points this year isn't really showing that necessarily. I think, Bugs, you were right that the bigger story for me, at least when it comes to round one, is how Zipper really bounced back after obviously a tough initial loss, seeming like Jeannine was going to be able to kind of steamroll through and just completely take him out of the equation, which would make sense considering that she just had, again, one of my favorite matches of the year so far, her match versus Marisol. But at round one, this was really something like, oh, this could be truly anybody's game.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny. You're exactly right about what you say about Roxy. And sometimes I do find it funny there where even sometimes managers know they're wrong and they still fight so hard. So sometimes it's like you lie, cheat, or steal just to get that point, for your. I just find it funny. I mean, I would probably do the same, don't get me wrong, but it's just like watching it happen and you kind of know that they're wrong. It is funny to see. But then, going into round two, obviously Jeannine goes first. She initially lands on DreamWorks, spins off, that lands on Paul Thomas Anderson. She did get the first 2-pointer. Then she goes multiple choice. She missed the third, stole by Zipper. And then she got the last 2-pointer, which was the who played Philip Seymour's son in The Master. I thought from the multiple choice option, I thought it's Jesse Plemons, right? He actually looks like Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? I just thought that was a bit funny. But obviously he stole that. Again, Zipper showing that, I did predict Zipper to win this match. And I thought so far, up until this point, I do have a slight controversial point at the end of I'll do it at the end of the match, but I thought he was playing really well. He got 7 points, he got a steal in the second round. I thought this is, he's showing his caliber and he's showing he is obviously he's got no points this year, but I thought he's he's in the game. And then he did spin 90, spin off 90s. They did have a debate, big category, etc., and then they land on opponent's choice. And he spun classics. I thought he did okay. He did get 4 points. Missed the Oliver Twist question. Obviously, they missed the Oliver question. Should have said Oliver, and he said Oliver Twist. So he did know the movie, but just didn't get the title right. And then obviously they used that challenge as well. Maybe if you wanted to challenge that, potentially benefit the doubt and all that. So obviously didn't get that. And then they missed the obviously Clint Eastwood multiple choice question, and then which Jeannine stole. So and there's a shift. Obviously the round ended 14-12 to Jeannine. So thoughts on the match so far, Saul, and Jeannine leading the second round 14-12?
For the singles tournament this week, it's the week of benefit of the doubt because we have earlier Riot and the Last Dragon. We have Oliver Twist. In the next match, we have the beauty shop, that part. So it was very much of seeing the way each one of these was ruled was very interesting to me, that there's not a consistency. It's who's on the desk, but it was kind of weird that there's not a consistency in the same match kind of thing, where I feel too that if they did have their challenge, unfortunately they used their challenge, they weren't able to use it. That's a gameplay thing. So unfortunately he wasn't able to use it, and he had to go forward with that because he knew the movie. You can see it. And me personally, I wouldn't have accepted either. But if it's ruled one way, I think it should be ruled the same way in the same match. And that was the part with me of like, okay, this is a weird match for benefit of the doubt.
So give me a swag, drip, drip.
Swag, drip, drip.
A non-biased opinion there from Saul, no doubt. But John, did you have something to say about that?
Oh, goodness. No, I mean, I was thinking about it. I was like, I could save my point for when we talk about the next match, which Saul was hinting at, also has a bit of a spicy challenge.
Sure. And then going into the third round, Zipper obviously was down, so he went first. Did get his 2-point question, Revenant question. Obviously, Jeannine gets her 2-pointer. Samuel L. Jackson, Pulp Fiction question. They both get super hard 3-pointers, I felt, which they both missed. And then Zipper's question, the 5-pointer, was whose directorial debut for Yves Bayou, 1997's. I thought that was, fair, completely no issue with that being a 5-pointer. And, who directed this movie that is not very popular. I've never heard of it, never seen it, to be honest. So I thought, it's completely fair. And then my controversial take, John, is this 5-pointer for Jeannine. I went from watching the match to being edge of my seat. Like, what? Obviously it was the Rent. The answer was Rent. But she got so many context clues in this 5-pointer. She got, what is the song from the movie? It's a Broadway hit, the year of the release date, and she got 2 of the stars of the movie. I was like what? Like it's I felt like it was just like a it was so many context clues for a 5-pointer. I was almost shocked. So I just really felt for Zipper in this match. Like, he was so unlucky, being down in the first round and switching that round, like getting a opponent's choice in the second round, stealing as well. And then just Jeannine getting that 5-pointer in the third round. Just, oh man, he got no breaks this match. And obviously the challenge didn't go his way as well. So I was like I said, I did pick him to win, and I felt a bit of pressure was on him to get points. But how this match went, I was like, no, I'm definitely feeling a little sorry for Zippo, because a lot of things went against his way, and Jeannine's got the win. But
we still love Jeannine. We still love Jeannine.
Yeah, of course. I was just locked onto Zipper this match because so many things, and people call him unlucky or underrated, and I just felt like so many things went against him. I was like, shocked at some of the things that happened, unfortunately. But John, any final thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously luck and skill are 2 things that go hand in hand throughout the Schmoedown. And it's also useful to remember that sometimes people have specific blind spots, and that depending on who the competitor is, even getting those actors, they wouldn't know that, Like, I'll be honest, gang, I've seen the movie Rent, and I have at least one song on my, general jams playlist over on my Spotify account, and I'm not proud of this fact, but the only reason I recognize that the song One Song Glory was from Rent is because of a fucking Critical Role meme. All right, that's how much of a dumb dork I am. That's the only way that I knew that was a song from that musical, And it's obviously be like, oh well, if you've seen Rent, Jesse L. Martin and Rosario Dawson are in that. But if you haven't seen Rent, it's like, well, shoot, Rosario Dawson's been in at least 5 movies. Maybe a couple of them are musicals. And Jesse L. Martin, what are they talking about? The musical episode of The Flash? I don't know. So definitely, this is the thing where I'm giving the question writers a little benefit of the doubt, because that is one of those things where it's like it all depends on the contestant that you are asking these questions to. That's what makes it subjective. It's always going to depend on the day of. And today was just one of those days where I got to be honest, I'm happy that it was a day that luck went Jeannine's way. especially considering, like, again, they included it in the promo package, seeing that heartbreaking loss to Marisol. Like, I love Eric Zipper, especially because, yeah, you saw, like, in the post-game interview, he was, like, almost about to retire, and then was like, no, of course I'm not. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, you know, a loss isn't going to get Eric down, especially when it was, like, a pretty well-played match. But this was something where I was especially happy to see Jeannine over the moon getting herself a W.
Absolutely, yeah. I haven't seen Rent, by the way, but I got it from.
See, there you go.
But I got the answer from, like.
To be fair, you
wink,
didn't
wink,
know
wink,
about
yeah.
the musical episode of CW's The Flash. Now, did you? Because if you'd known that, that probably would have added more nuance.
Definitely not.
I haven't seen Rent, but I've seen Revolution Rent, which is on HBO, which is bringing the musical Rent to Cuba. So I've seen that, but I haven't seen the actual musical.
So, any final thoughts for Zipper or for S.W.A.G this season, or the match in general?
Pobrecito Zipper. I feel so much for him. No points this year. I'm glad that he's sticking around next year. And, you know, swag, drip, drip. I'm always... And, Winston, please bring those lists back. That was absolutely hilarious, this match. I loved that. I liked this character during this match specifically from, like, previous matches. Keep this one, Winston.
Yeah, I was ready to give Zipper a bit of stick after this. You know, being a round one draft pick in no kind of categories, divisions getting any points, but not after this match. Like a lot of things went against him. I felt a bit sorry for him, to be honest. But yeah, my overall thoughts on the match. And we've got one more match to do, John. Before
that's right, we certainly do. It's gonna be Britney Young, also of the Stars, also Roxy Stryer, back at it again with Britney Young, another wrestler, sort of, in a way, much like Chris Jericho. This is obviously from the television show Glow, which I watched 2 seasons of and quite enjoyed. Meanwhile, on the other end of the ledger, we had James White, previously representing the Den last year, except I think he had maybe gotten traded onto the Den. Again, last year.
He was Den, he was the other faction, Burning Droogs. Now Corruption.
Rest in peace.
Now Corruption, and as it turns out, Corruption might just be the place where James White can truly shine, because we got ourselves a win for Corruption on the books. But to really break down how we got there, Saul, we need your expert boss guidance.
Yes. So I just want to go straight into this round one that we got this challenge. Beauty shop, the beauty shop. You have Britney Young writing the beforehand and originally giving it to them. Then because of some internet issues, they got the challenge in late. But they were telling Roxy, no, it's not late. It's the internet. So we can kind of put that aside. But coming in with a little bit of research about a movie from the 1930s called The Beauty Shop, which brings to question, you can have your phones and do research during a match as a manager. I kind of assumed, kind of like Roxy, that you couldn't do that because managers are also supposed to keep their hands up as well. So that's a very interesting thing. So I want to throw it to you, Box, first. First, the challenge, and second, that managers can do research throughout the match.
Yeah, the challenge, I don't know. Technically, it's not the name of the movie, but yeah, I would like to have seen them give it but I know if I'm being a judge on that, you know, it technically is wrong. So I think that is fair. And I think, yeah, but when it does happen, you're like, oh, really? Can't you just give it her? But it isn't the actual name. So I do get it. Either we need to be consistent, or because obviously there isn't really consistency, I guess. Because especially in IG or Star Wars, this is not accepted. But in singles, in some matches it is, some matches it isn't. You know, benefit the doubt, etc. So it's a hard one. I don't know. You know, sometimes I feel like it's too harsh. Sometimes it's necessary. So you know, I'm glad I'm not making the decisions there.
Right.
But overall, yeah, I just I thought it was you know, well played by White. I did really like the Interstellar question. You know, which 2020s sci-fi, I think maybe it said Sarah Jessica Chastain, Ellen Burstyn, and Topher Grace. Like, I feel like I knew that movie. I was like, oh my god, because they both use repeats on it, and I was like, I swear I like this movie, but I just can't think what it is. So I just found it really interesting. And yeah, that bonus question was good as well with the David Bowie one. That was a tough one which he missed, but he still was leading 8-6. But yeah, overall interesting first round.
Well, and there's the question, Boggs. If they had given you that same question with those actors, but also named a song from the movie Interstellar,
And the
would
year.
you have got?
John, any thoughts for you on that challenge?
Oh, it had some heat on it. So it has some heat on it, which makes sense considering that the feud between Roxy and Shannon was one of the feuds of the year last year.
Was this Roxy again?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why this challenge had so much heat on it, because it feels like this match must have been filmed like the day after the previous match, and that's why Roxy was like, "Well, President's Day. Oh, we're not doing President. So you're telling me?" Like it was spicy. But you know, the fact that there is the Beauty Shop movie, shop, like, it's fair. You know, I mean, you know, God bless John Roca, the patron of this YouTube channel, patreon.com/John Roca. He challenged 90s. He challenged 90s and said, well, they made movies in 1890, so what you gonna do? And they had to be like, yeah, fuck, what are we gonna do? So, like, in a way, there's precedent for everything, right?
Right.
And at the very least, there's a precedent of, yeah, whoever the heck's on the desk, that's just gonna be what we see happening. And so, you know, in that regard, also, like Bugs was saying, yeah, like, I don't ever want to be making these decisions. Not in a million years do I want to have to be the one responsible for having one of these managers be pissed at me. So, like, at the end of the day, I'm like, honestly, dude, just thank you for the two people being there, being willing to make calls, because I know at the end of the day, I'm not going to have what it takes to actually pull the trigger on a decision if I had to be there.
We even seen, I forget which match it was, where Christian was just like, Mark, yes, no? Like, he even was just like, Mark, help. What decision should we make? And I love that point of, like, even they don't want to make these decisions either. It's a hard decision to make. Going into round 2, we have White spun off of John Hughes, gets Disney, gets 6 out of 8 points. Young spinning off of 2000, gets Courtroom Dramas and Legal Thrillers. Misses the Brie Larson Just Mercy, misses the Time to Kill line multiple choice. White stealing both of these. So throw it over to you, Boggs, this round 2.
Yeah, you know, White stealing all the, you know, ones he can. You know, obviously had a good go of himself when he spun, but you know, Young's category, the courtroom dramas and thrillers or whatever, I just thought they were really good questions. Like, I think I might put that on myself on on my next fan league match. But yeah, I loved all their movies. You know, it wasn't the hardest round 2 I felt for her, and you know, she did miss some. So I don't know if that was still playing on her mind, the challenge thing. So, but yeah, White played, you know, pretty strong and leading the round. You know, had a big, obviously, lead going into the third. So I thought a bit of pressure on her there, and I was interested to see if she would get TKO'd or not. So yeah.
Boggs giving away secrets to the family.
Yeah, I mean, they're good movies. I was like,
oh my.
But we end this round 2, 16-9. Young gets her Gone in 60 Seconds, Angelina Jolie 2-pointer. She gets the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids 3-pointer. Gets her Allison Janney, I, Tanya 5-pointer. Then White coming in. He gets his 2 and his 3. So throw it over to you, John, this round 3.
Yeah, I mean, James kind of needed this, I think, a little bit. Obviously, having gotten less airtime, I would say, generally than Britney Young, if I'm not mistaken, because I believe she got 2 matches before this season. But she also got at least 1 win before this against Clee Wiggins, which James White did not have coming into this season because he only had the 1 loss to Paul Preston. So this was kind of something he needed a little bit. But it also, again, shows off the strength of Corruption. You know, they've been able to have quite a few surprises snuck into various tournaments, as we saw last year, notably. So it's very interesting to see, again, like Corruption being at this point in number 3 in the faction standings. Again, just like every little bit of traction helps. And I think that's part of why we saw such a challenge as the Beauty Shop versus Beauty Shop. I know Trunk of Prayer is in the chat talking about how it's like a bit of an anal. If you're being anal about the rules, which, I mean, sure, sometimes that's what you got to be if you're a manager and want to get those ding-dang points. Because Christian has talked about how there's a big old cash prize, and I don't know if he's feeding the competitors beyond that. I don't know how much those poor kids are getting fed to remember things from movies, so they're really trying to get that prize money. I understand that. That's fair. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough day, especially as a Britney Young fan. I hope to God she gets even more playtime next year than she did this year. Just I want to see more and more Britney Young matches. But James White, good on him. You know, he had that 15 seconds again to shine in this tournament, and he's so far making the most of them. But now he has to go against David Del Rio. Uh-oh.
Corruption versus Dungeon. Ooh.
Oh man. Well, hey, speaking of these dang factions going up against each other, we've talked a lot about the inner geekdom in the singles tournaments, but we also know there are two other tournaments coming down the pipeline. First and foremost being the Star Wars tournament. That is coming up down the pipeline. There's not going to be any spoilers in this bracket we're about to show you. Heads up. So don't worry about it. But again, we're going to be spoiling the title match that just happened oh so soon on this show. So make sure you've seen it. But I'm now sharing on my end the Star Wars bracket that got shared. At the end of that pay-per-view match, we have some heavy hitters who are going to be going up into this tournament. First up, starting at the bottom, I believe he goes by Ross from Nowhere. At least he, I believe, did in the FCL. But Ross, who is now representing the Den, going up against Jeannine Dimalanta of the Usual Suspects, who we just saw get a heck of a win. Up top, we've got that Damon Civil War, Molly of the Dungeon, and Alex of the Stars. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have first up Laura Kelly, now the representative of S.W.A.G for the Star Wars tournament, going up against Eric Whiteley, trying his hand once again at this Star Wars thing, representing the Quirky Mercs. And then at the bottom, we have Joseph Scrimshaw, now of Corruption, formerly of the Quirky Mercs, going up against Gold Leader, who got to the finals last year, or not even last year, just last tournament, against Thomas Harper, who just had a title match. I mean, gang, let's just look at this right now. Which of these round one matches are you most excited to watch? And let's start with Boggs on this one. Which of these four do you most want to see tomorrow, if gods would allow it?
I'd probably say Scrimshaw against Gold Leader, because he's one of them. Scrimshaw's one of them where obviously it's the common thing where the record doesn't reflect how good they are. And he gave Alex one of his best matches. And I think Gold Leader is pretty excellent, to be honest. Look how far he pushed Harper in that win. So I think he's my favorite to win this tournament as well. So I'm going to say him. Obviously, Laura Kelly's excellent over 3 rounds. He's gone perfect. So this season. So I think Whiteley's in a bit of trouble there, although I'm a fan of Blind Wave. And yeah, obviously the Damons are interesting there, of course. Everyone's kind of wanted to see that. And then Nikki against Ross Arsenault. I guess it's so. I believe Harper quite credits Ross for being his main sparring partner. Of course, I think that's why they drafted him, to help kind of prompt Harper up, and obviously to push him on in his place if he wins the title, which we'll talk about later. But really good matches. It's hard to kind of pick at this point, but for me, it's Gold Leader's the one to look out for.
Absolutely. And then, Saul, same question to you, but also, if you had to say right now, not knowing how any of these matches turn out, who do you think we are going to see in the finals? If you had to just pick 2 names from this bracket, who do you think are the 2 competitors who could really make it to the finals against truly a murderer's row of competitors?
Murderer's row. First, I was going to say, Boggs is cheating and saying all 4 matches is his.
Well, we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to just fanboy and fangirl every once in a while.
It is Star Wars, yes. I'm looking forward to the Damon Civil War. That's going to be super interesting. I wonder who's going to be sleeping on the couch after that match. It's going to be a very interesting match. It's probably going to be a very high-scoring match. I'm excited for that one because I know that they've helped each other study behind the scenes, so it's going to be cool to see what knowledge they're giving each other in front of the scenes. You know what? I'm going to say it's going to be a ladies' final. I'm going to go Jeannine Dimalanta, Laura Kelly. It's going to be a ladies' final.
I dig that. I see a couple people in the chat there talking about Alex versus Laura. I think that's a sensible choice. Obviously, that's two of the veterans in this division. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if we wound up with Alex versus Laura. But I agree with you, Saul. Jeannine Dimalanta really showed out in her one match. And having trained the person who just beat Alex Damon twice, she could beat Alex Damon on her own. We can't say for sure that that's out of the realm of possibility. That's a real Marvel's what if. We don't know. And then I also agree with you, Boggs, that looking at Joseph Scrimshaw versus Gold Leader, like that's going to be, in my opinion, one of the most intense round one matches, right up there with the Damon Civil War. We'll have to see how that goes. But depending on who walks out of that match and how that match goes, that could ruin the whole thing. That could make it an easy dark horse winner, depending on which of those two takes it. But
I will say as well, I am a bit gutted for Ace not being in that tournament though, as well.
Yeah.
You know, especially last year, you know, nominated for Player of the Year, lit up the league last year, and now not getting a chance in the tournament is unfortunate. But you know, they've gone for what they've gone for. But yeah, I kind of wish we saw Ace.
Yeah, it's one of those tough things where when you've got two of really the best Star Wars players and two different Star Wars tournaments, it's like, yeah, of course you've got to make sure both your players get equal time. Mm-hmm. But that is also what I think is going to make the new faction setup next year a little bit more interesting when there's fewer players, and then making sure that the road is a little bit more open. But gang, believe it or not, we have a second tournament we got to talk about, because the final teams tournament bracket has dropped. We have 8 teams coming into this. 3 new teams as well, as the graphic is dropped there. I wrote down underneath some of these new teams in case all of you at home don't necessarily know what we're looking at. We have the team of Danger Zone, who obviously just made their names in the previous teams tournament, representing the dungeon, going up against the Untouchables, the new team of Drew McWeeny and Paige Frabetti, which I'm very excited about. Underneath that, we have the Press Room, of course, being Perry and Josh Horowitz, one of the folks making a name for themselves as a potential Rookie of the Year, going up against the Old Guard. We're not seeing the outsiders this time around. We have Alonzo Duralde and Mark Riley stepping up to the plate in the team's division, which is very interesting. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have Deception, which is, of course, Adam Collins and Marisol McKee, once again in the team's tournament, going up against Chaos Theory. I believe Deception had to play Blackjack last time around, if I'm not mistaken, which means that once again they're going up against Jacoby Bancroft, this time with his new partner, Nick Harley of the FCL, now Movie Trivia Schmoedown. And then at the bottom, we have, I think the match that is maybe the hardest to call, Final Exam, Lon Harris and Paul Oyama, who I guess at this point, maybe I forget exactly when Deception formed, but Final Exam might be the oldest team or most established team in this tournament. Now going up against King Arthur, one of the 3 complete newbies, being Griffey Nooms and King Khan, 2 of the absolute most monstrously good at this game rookies that we have going on right now. So I will toss it over to you, Saul, first and foremost. Talking about these 3 new teams that we have, the Untouchables, the Old Guard, and King Arthur, which one are you most excited to see debut?
I think it has to be between the Old Guard and King Arthur, because it's literally old versus new, deciding which one of these goes in, because I love Alonzo Duralde, I love Riley, and it'll be really cool to see them as a pair and see how far they can go in this tournament. And then I mean, I'm hoping that they don't win. I hate that they have to play Final Exam because swag, drip, drip. But King Arthur, Griffey Nooms, and King Khan, man, they're so good this year. And it's going to be really tough for swag. It's going to be a tough match for Final Exam. So that's my most excited of all these matches that I am on this tournament is Final Exam King Arthur.
I agree with you on that front. I will say, though, I think maybe for me, my most anticipated team is the Untouchables. Just because Drew McWeeny, we've seen him absolutely tear it up in the team's division with Sam Levine, his former teammate turned manager, and Paige Frabetti, also somebody who I think is making a case for Rookie of the Year with some of the way that she's been able to blaze a trail in singles. And also, it kind of makes me miss Take the Cannoli, because obviously, the family was a big moment for Drew McWeeny, getting some traction back with Andrew Guy. But I really loved the energy and the dynamic of Drew McWeeny and Breanne Chandler, who is very missed in the Schmoedown world at large. And I think we're getting a little bit more of that because it's less of a serious affair. You know what I mean? Like the family was a very serious affair. Like that was Drew as a heel, which was very interesting. So I like that it's now a little bit of a return to like something of a more lighthearted, like, hey, yeah, we're just two people who are good at movie trivia. I think that's a better dynamic for Drew McWeeny going into this. And this is also going to be a moment where Paige can really shine, I think, teamed up with both Sam and Drew McWeeny, who are legacy players in this game. Like, this is going to be a shot to really showcase the usual suspects' skills. Boggs, toss it on over to you. Which match are you most excited to see? And much like I asked Soul, if you had to pick two teams that'll be seeing each other in the finals, who do you have?
Tough questions. I do just want to shout out Leo and Brian in the chat there. There'll be lots of rematches, from kind of singles matches that we're going to see quite soon or, have been this season. So interesting matchups. But, I think the match I'm anticipating the most is Danger Zone against Untouchables because, even though, I do like Bateman and Damrow, I kind of want to see them lose. So
you haven't gotten enough of that this season so far?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So no, it is kind of fun when they lose. I don't know because they just think so much of themselves and they come in cocky, and it's kind of fun when they when it's upset. So that's my most anticipated match because I'm kind of rooting against them, even though they're both great players.
Pops has finally seen the light.
No, it's just fun. It's just fun because they come up with their excuses and stuff. It's just great. Yeah, I'd say that one, but I don't know. Who's going to win? I mean, it's so tough. If Deception click, again, same with Danger Zone. If they click, I'd say that the Den, they seem to get a hard draw, whatever tournament it is. Right into all day. Yeah, I mean, but the way Fritz is playing at the moment, I kind of fancy Press Room for that one. But I'm going to go Final Exam. The most experienced team. I kind of tend to go with experience against rookies. Although, obviously Khan and Nooms are great, but yeah, it could be an upset, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm going to say Final Exam because, they've been there in number one contender matches, won tournaments before. So yeah, I'm going to fancy them for now.
And it's useful to know, that of course, swag, drip, drip. But yeah, talking about like rematches, obviously that's going to be Lon Harris versus King Khan round 2. So it'll be interesting to see how that match shakes out. And then with Danger Zone versus Untouchables, depending what airs first, that'll be either the first or second Ben Bateman versus Paige for Betty matchup. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of comes from all of that. Oh, man, Old Guard. I want to have the faith because these are two great guys. We've seen Alonzo be part of some spoiler teams. Obviously, his team up with Whitney Seibold taking down Tom and Paul, which I think was one of the most touted new teams of last season. That was pretty interesting to see. So it could happen for the Old Guard, but I don't know. Obviously, we're talking about a really polished rookie in Josh Horowitz. So that's going to make things very difficult.
This time, I don't think they'll challenge their win, though.
That's fair. That's fair. Poor old Matt Atchity. I hope Matt Atchity is doing well. Yes. I hope Matt Atchity is just having fun reading the news of what's going to be up with Paddington 3. Oh gosh, how have you guys seen both? Have you seen both two Paddington movies?
I have not.
I have, yes.
They're good movies. You should see them, Soul.
Yeah, they're sweet. Yeah, especially the first one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of looking over my notes because obviously we have a wonderful guest joining us soon. But, folks also have their own real lives. So he's not here just yet. That's okay. We don't hold that against him in the slightest. It just means that your old pal John Barr's doing a little bit of reading. And right now, I wanted to ask you guys this question that I actually have in my notes. I'm thinking about, I'm looking at some matches of the year because I feel like I've monopolized a lot of this conversation on our show because I keep tossing out one match in particular, that being Marisol versus Jeannine. But I'm kind of working on a list right now of some matches that have stuck out to me. And I want to run these by you, see how you feel about these picks, and see if there are any you would add to the list. And chat, hey, don't forget, You can also give your picks in the chat. We'll be looking at that as well. And hey, while you're here, why not send us a super chat? Why not send us a Streamlab? Why not become a patron so that way you can real quick slide a question under the wire to our wonderful guest who will be coming up in like 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to be a patron. It's an easy setup process. You just got to hop on it. But right now, some of the matches I have on my list here, of course, Jeannine versus Marisol. I have Mike Kalinowski versus Chandru Dandapani, the most recent Inner Geekdom belt match. I have Alex Damon versus Andrew Dimalanta 1. That's the one that I've put on my list, maybe just because of the momentum swap up, seeing Damon finally lose. Ace Cabrera versus Thomas Harper. I've talked about that. That's largely because we're in it, just to be frank. But also, great match to be sure. I have Ben Bateman versus John Roca. Again, Roca, this is his channel. But that was a pretty intense match and wound up being pretty entertaining. I had Doug Benson versus Chris Van Vliet on this list because that was a fun one. That was a good fun time. I have Jacoby Bancroft versus Jacob Blunden. That being one where two rookies just going perfect for perfect all the way to the end. Or maybe like one multiple choice miss. Or yeah, one multiple choice answer by Blunden in round 2 being like the one thing that decided it. That was crazy. And then I have Paige Frabetti versus Rachel Silvestrini. Those are right now some of my picks for matches of the year. So I want to tuss it over. I said tuss. I want to have a tussle with you two and fight about who we think had the best match of the year. There we go. John saved his ass barely. So I wanted to ask you all, are there any matches of those that I listed that stand out to you as a potential match of the year? And which ones would you rather have on the board? And then Mike, also our producer, I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but if you'd like to hop on in, we could talk about it. Yeah, why not? Huh?
Why not?
Let's have Mike go first. We haven't heard from him today yet.
Hi.
Hello.
Do my Spider-Man thing.
Hey.
Spider-Man and his classic guns. What do you
We're talking match of the year. Is that what we're still talking about?
Yeah.
I'm the producer. I should know this. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, that Marisol Jeannine match, man. It's that's I want that as an IV going into my veins. Like, find a way to replace my blood with that match. That was so good. I don't know. I'm real curious to see what these tournaments are going to look like, because I think we're going to end up seeing Molly Damon and Laura Kelly in the finals of that Star Wars match.
Ooh.
Laura's my favorite Star Wars player, so I have a hard time betting against her to begin with. And I just kind of like, I think it's going to be an all ladies. I think it's going to be a girl power tournament this year between the two of them and Nikki. And I think Nikki and Molly are gonna scrap, but I think it's going to be Molly Laura at the final. And then as far as the teams go, I'm thinking it's kind of a embarrassment of riches, really. But that Marisol Jeannine match, to get back on topic, that Marisol Jeannine match, I can't bet it. It was too good. It was too good. That's one of those, like, when somebody says, like, what is the Schmoedown? You show them that match.
Absolutely.
Those are my
I'm
thoughts.
just chiming in here to say I did check my phone for a second, not because I wasn't listening, but because I was hoping beyond hope that maybe the person who's going to come fix my AC said anything, and they sure didn't. Uh-oh. Oh, John's very uncomfortable, but hey, that's why we have Saul and
we
Boz
don't
here.
see your sweat yet. So
I sure looked at that. You can't see anything under there. See, John knows what he's doing with layers.
Hey, you're scarring 4 bogs down there. So
Right.
Let
me tell you my match of the year.
Ooh.
Amaru Moses against Moose Haas. No, not really. It was definitely not. I don't know. I guess Corruption Shazam was a good one. But I don't know. With the Dimalanta Damon, the ending of that, he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it in Sun and Death. That was like the kind of edge of the seat moment. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have one, to be honest, off the top of my head. But yeah, I'll say Dimalanta Damon for that shock moment. But I guess Saul can go and I'll think of one in the meantime. But
that one specifically because you think Damon wins first, and then it
Yeah,
gets
yeah, sure.
challenged, and then so the drama at the end of that gives to that match. But I think I do have to go with Jeannine versus Marisol. That's my favorite match so far this year, and it just shows how powerful these two women are at this sport. I love them so much, and I'm so glad that they got to just showcase that for everyone to see. And definitely, if you want to see, if you don't know about the Schmoedown, like this is the match to watch. And so I love those two ladies, and I have to put that as my match of the year.
I'd say chance against Schneider as well. No, not really.
Oh, sure.
It would do a little bit of controversy.
So
I do want to give a shout out to
that was
Schneider as well.
Bob's heart breaking in two because he loves both of them so much.
Yeah, and he has retired, right? He did announce that. So I will give a shout out to him. He is on my Rushmore. He's one of my favorite players of all time. You know, he's a great player as well. You know, player of the year last year and then retiring this year is I'm a bit gutted, but you know, obviously things went down that day. He's obviously tapped out, whatever. But yeah, he's obviously, he's helped build this league and he's on my Rushmore. So shout out to Schneider.
Yeah.
Love you, Stagger.
My one live Schmoedown event was watching him and Andraco take on Bateman Riley. I mean, and getting to meet him was absolutely incredible. So yeah, he's one of the OGs.
No doubt.
Yeah, two really tough losses of legacy players for the Stars. Obviously, Mark Andraco being forced into retirement by Grace, and then Jeff leaving us on a slew of expletives that got bleeped out completely, and then no post game. Like it's a weird note to end on. It's a bit of a toughie. That one is, but like Bog said, as much as I give the dude guff, and I'll probably still give him a little bit of guff if I'm just being honest of who I am as a person, you cannot deny that Snyder had a heck of a legacy in this game. Had some really great matches under his belt, and it is a shame to see him go. I liked having someone that I could just kind of unequivocally be like, nah, not him. I miss that. I'm gonna need to find a new guy to hate. It's like that tweet you ever see, like Twitter is just making up a kind of guy and then hating him for years. I just got to find another guy like that in the Schmoedown.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who isn't that guy, who I can't possibly
You're getting good
hate.
at this, John.
I'm getting good at this just now in this one moment. And how could I not be when we have such an inspiring guest on, Boggs, huh? I have to put my best foot forward because this is absolutely one of the incredible people going for that Rookie of the Year title when all is said and done. He is a person that, sorry gang, spoiler alert, already has a title to his name, that being the first 2021 Star Wars tournament winner. I don't know exactly how we're phrasing that with the second one, but it's easier to say your new Star Wars movie trivia Schmoedown champion of the world. I almost said year, world, all of it. He gets every single title I can thrust upon this man. Everybody give it up for the Major, Thomas Harper. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Too many words ahead of it's just Thomas. But as far as I'm concerned, I may have gotten some stickers made. So we shall see. But yeah. So, anyways, how are y'all doing? Thanks for having me on. Feels like different than the last time we talked. I don't know. Something changed.
Your pants are a little bit heavier, maybe just from all the gold that's now adorning it. Oh, my goodness, man. Yeah, I mean, you're obviously still rocking the hat. You're rocking all of the Star Wars collectibles. How does it feel now to be, again, still in this wonderful Schmoedown world of a whole bunch of fans, but now having something that says, yeah, but this one time I knew the most?
Yeah, and it says a heck of a lot about the warrior that Drew is, that the hunter is, that it was that close a match that it was back and forth in the way that it was. My blood pressure is probably no good, with a match like that. But, I'm so thankful that it went back and forth like that. So the fans could see that, this isn't just like a, hey, Thomas knew an obscure fact or this or that, or this was some sort of TKO situation. This was like a battle of a titan and somebody who came into this league, you know, quite frankly, with a lot to prove. You know, other than the one video that's out there of the Dragon Con tournament and Alex and Molly's word, there wasn't much to go on, right? So I thought the criticism and the skepticism was kind of fair, right, from somebody who had never been down to Atlanta for that show. So I'm happy and very fortunate right now to have sort of repaid my team in the smallest way possible to sort of justify and pay back the work and the time that they've spent. The fans that have somehow found my like droid antics amusing, or like my back and forth with General Mulligan funny in some way. And even the fans that really don't like me, because they're, you can't please everybody. I'd like to think that Drew and I gave a really good battle, that regardless of what your opinion on the two of us is, was just fun to watch.
Absolutely. I do have to ask, because obviously you were one of the rookies that we had on way back when we were first figuring out what the Schmoedown was going to look like this season.
Right.
I'm sure at least, in the back of your mind, you were like, hey, yeah, I wouldn't be entering this thing if I didn't think I had what it took to win the belt. But I do have to ask, did you think it was going to happen so soon? Did you think that we were going to be still a couple months left in the season and you were already going to be the reigning Star Wars champion?
I mean, I like to go back to Qui-Gon's quote from Phantom Menace, where he says, "Your focus determines your reality." And there, in my mind, there wasn't, and this wasn't a place this didn't come from a place of cockiness as much as it did. I know my work ethic and my dedication to whatever it is that I set my mind to. There wasn't a world in my mind in which this wasn't the outcome. Did I anticipate it happening in exactly this way? No. But at the same time, every time I stepped into the ring, to include in this match, I had full faith and confidence in myself, especially in the couple matches like this one where I miss questions and you got to pick yourself back up, that you're having that internal dialogue. It's like reminding myself of, hey, you worked hard to get here. You've earned this. This isn't going to be the thing that stops you.
Absolutely. And to dig right into what this match looked like, Boggs, you are our Star Wars expert, at least as far as the three of us go. We don't hold a candle to Thomas, but we can absolutely break down this match at your ready, Boggs.
Well, Saul has a t-shirt, so she's
That's true.
Very organized.
Did Stanley ever make a Star Wars cameo? Do we know for sure?
Maybe, who knows? But yeah, congratulations, champ. Like John said, we did put that call out, and only one person answered. Like in terms of we're on live. Any rookie wants to come in, show themselves. You're the only one that that backed up the talk and jumped on.
And
so
thank God you did, because now we look like geniuses.
Yeah, right.
First through the gate, yeah.
Exactly. Come full circle. So how did it obviously it's been a long journey in such a short time, like John has said, and being that that rookie where kind of no one knew who you were, from now being the champ, and kind of beating or not necessarily beating them because you haven't played like Alex and Molly and stuff, but beating people who referred you to getting there, getting his old title, beating the man who's beat the man who's beat the man. Kind of how does that feel, that status? And because obviously you put a side Dragon Con for this as well. Just wondering the kind of overall buzz or feeling you have coming full circle.
It doesn't feel real yet. Maybe when I get the belt, that'll change. We had a faction watch party last night, and it started to feel a little bit real then. I honestly, and I think a lot of competitors are this way, you don't remember a whole lot. You sort of get in this space, this focused space. I remember the questions that I got wrong. I remember that feeling distinctly, but not a whole lot else. The commentary that was going on back and forth, other questions, Drew's questions, it was like watching it for the first time. And so I was sitting there like nervous, like, oh, I could lose this as we're watching. It's sort of like you watch a movie for the 15th time and you're like, well, maybe something different will happen this time. And so it's still surreal. It's it makes me very happy because it, in a way, I think vindicates Kate's status as a manager that is to be respected, and getting to have her bring me along and join the ranks of all the other managers the last couple seasons that have helped coach players to belts. That was huge for me. And so Kate has sort of helped me feel like it's a little more real. And she was certainly instrumental in this match. I think that was plainly obvious when you watch it. But I was thinking about like the transitive property. So I've beaten Dimalanta, who has beaten Damon. So if you carry that, then I could beat George Lucas or Dave Filoni, right? That's the
That's exactly
I think Damon
right.
could beat
That's
George
how it
Lucas,
all
yeah,
works.
sorry,
I track that. I track. I mean, listen, you've met Griffey Nooms, which means you could be on the George Lucas talk show, which means you could prove
Right.
it once and for there we go.
Yeah.
See,
That's a good way, I feel like, to get in their good graces is like answer a Star Wars trivia question that they don't know, because they would certainly just be endeared to you at that point and not
sure.
not have security throw you into a bus or something.
Right, yeah. Lucasfilm hire, Thomas Harper as some kind of consultant. Or
Yeah,
something.
here, let's show you into this special conference room, and they lock me in a janitor's closet until the
to
police
check
arrive.
everything's canon and cross reference.
Oh, this is the canon room. Throws you in the...
Yeah, don't worry. That broom that was in The Last Jedi. You just gotta look real close.
So you see that airlock button? Can you just press it on your end?
It's really cool. Trust us.
Question though, before we get into the match, you mentioned about rewatching stuff there.
Mhm.
Is there any movie in particular that you enjoy more on the, you say, you must watch these, several times before a match and stuff. Is there any that you appreciate more the more you watch it, or anything like that?
The Clone Wars has really been a journey. I had not picked up the Clone Wars movie, despite being a massive fan of the show. I hadn't gone, and watched that again in years, quite frankly. I have my notes for it for Dragon Con, but given the depth of that competition, that movie rarely comes up. Typically, it's just the show. And I remember watching it for the first time again. And I didn't even like sit down and watch. I think we have a TV, like a treadmill with a TV in the room. And I was just watching. I was like, I'll just watch this while I run. And I was like I looked down and it was like 45 minutes had passed in the run. I was like, holy cow. Like this movie really does hold up in many ways. And I've gone on a journey with that movie in particular. That's been really fun. And it's sad. I really wanted to hear nobody ever takes Clone Wars when it gets spun. It doesn't get spun often. So Drew landed on it. And it had nothing to do with where the match stood at that point. But I was like, oh man, I want to hear some Clone Wars questions. And he spun off it. And I was like, I get it. But oh well.
Yeah, definitely. For me, if for some reason it's Rogue One, and in particular the score. Because when I first saw it, I wasn't because obviously no John Williams music in that. But the more I hear it, I just think, wow, it's just so suited in that movie. But Saul, what about you? Any on any rewatches? As a fan,
I liked it when I first saw it, but I had issues with it, like other people. The Last Jedi, I was one of those that liked it, but I like it more and more each time I rewatch it, and so I'm in the camp of I'm a fan of The Last Jedi.
I will break in and make a recommendation that in my prep for this match, I stumbled across I think it was last year, they had released a deluxe version of the Solo album, so John Powell's music. Mm-hmm. And if you remember back in the 90s or the early 2000s, they released these ultimate edition, I don't know what they call them, but basically the full soundtracks for all the OT movies and the prequel trilogy as well. So it's as if you're watching the movie, and there's no breaks. It's these short tracks, but you get the entire movie, so you can listen to the album from start to finish, and it's as if you're watching the whole movie. They haven't done that for really any of the newer movies, but I bought the Solo one for $10 on iTunes. I was blown away. They had the little jingle that plays during the Imperial recruitment video that Solo watches, and the music from the battle on Mimban. I was having a blast listening to it. So highly recommend that one.
As a band kid, I now must own this.
It's really good. It's really, really good. It made me want to go back and watch the movie again and again.
Again, yeah. John, I would ask you, but I don't care. But let's get on to the match.
Well, hold on. I do have an answer for the thing I rewatched the most.
Sure.
And it's this Streamlabs comment from Drunken Prayer. Oh, thank you so much, Drunken Prayer. Don't forget, everybody, you can send in this Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/the ultimate Schmoedown show. He's commenting on our conversations around the teams bracket, I believe. Going to root for Paige whenever she plays, partly because she's an awesome person and partly because of her accent. Also like that hit button and join the. Come on, man. Come on. Don't do that to us. Now I have to read it, and now I look like a fool. We don't bite. That's true. I will say, yeah, obviously Thomas being part of the den, knowing that Alonso Duralde and Mark Riley are going to be going into that team's tournament. And also Ross Arsenal. I believe it was Ross from Nowhere. Yes, that's part of why I got it confused. I'm too used to From Nowhere, and that's not how Arsenal is spelled. So who are you excited to see the most kind of those three making a mark?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to say what it is, but I will, I don't know, announce to you guys he has a new name. Ross does. So I don't know if that's been publicly released or not, but that's incoming, I suppose. And it fits really well with mine, I think. So we make a good pair. It's hard to choose, but I would say Ross in particular, partially because of my preference for the Star Wars division, but also he and I have just spent so much time together since he came on board. This is a guy that is like deeply dedicated to this league. He is so good. I cannot wait for folks to see him play. Honestly, that was probably one of the best parts of winning this belt was to vindicate the work that he did behind the scenes. And there was controversy about that roster move, especially as Del Rio does what everybody sort of expected him to do if he got a chance in the tournament, which is cut through it like hot butter. But his work behind the scenes was absolutely essential in me earning that belt. And, I am really, really glad that he gets to play. I think the matchup with Nikki is going to be a phenomenal one to watch. She's so entertaining. He's just like, he just rolls with the punches. It's like he's been doing this kind of thing for years, and he really enjoys doing it. And the two of them, I don't know how that match is going to turn out. That could be a 51-50 and a 3-rounder for all of their respective skills. So that's sort of a heavyweight match that I really look forward to. But Duralde and Riley are two to look out for. I mean, Riley looked lights out in his match against Liz. And, certainly I don't think we've seen Duralde yet in his match. But this is a guy that's never missed a round 2 question. This is a guy that works deeply in the industry. The two of them together are like, putting a couple just film experts that rival anybody else. And that kind of knowledge should scare anybody.
Hell yeah, man. Those are all three going to be incredible competitors to watch. And Boggs, see, if you almost glossed over that question and missed out on me, A, getting Ross's name wrong, and B, having to read like the hit button. So that'll show you, sir.
It sure did, yes. You and Ross Thomas do sound like master and apprentice, like always two there are kind of thing. Yeah. So that would be interesting to see his development. But going into this match, of course, first round, it did end 2 points down. Like you mentioned, you missed the Anakin first line in Attack of the Clones. Of course, you put Master on the end, and the Y-wing question, which was a surprise. But yeah, it was kind of. Is this the most that you missed in round one?
Ties. Yeah. So the ace match, I missed questions 2 and 3, which was fun. I don't know what's less fun, missing 2 of them back to back like that, where you just you catch them in the chest back to back, and you're like, okay, or missing them like this, where you kind of recover and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get 9 in this round, and you're like, now I'm gonna get 8. So I have no idea, but the thing that I would highlight there, a couple things. One, that quote question shows just that's the division in a nutshell right there. I now lived Ace's experience in a way. His was different in that he's got a tense wrong. I tacked on a word, and you can see me kind of sitting there looking at it. I burned a JTE, and it was because I was wrestling with my gut, and my gut was telling me erase Master. And I sat there, it's early in the match. You hadn't quite settled into a rhythm yet. And I was like, no, shut up, gut. Keep it there. He definitely says that. And they were. It's a credit to the league. It's a credit to Christian, Mark, and PJ, everybody behind the scenes for doing that check, because that was the right call. This isn't a benefit of the doubt situation. This is we need the exact quote, and I added a word. It sucks, and I'm glad that the match didn't turn on that. But that's where the division is, and I would have been the first to sort of yell from the rafters if it had gotten messed up. And honestly, in the moment, once they came back from it, I said, yeah, it's totally right. And really, when Dimalanta flipped his board, the sort of neurons sparked, and I was like, oh geez, here we go. The Y-wing question, I just, this is, I'm going to have to buy PJ a beer over tripping me up on a Y-wing question. It's spectacular. But I heard Y-wing and I thought I've gotten lucky that, like, how could I get a Y-wing question in a match of mine? And then I heard Rise of Skywalker and I was like, bam, let me give you the most technical detail possible about it, short of like the serial number on it. And as soon as Andrew flipped his board, I was like, it's just that sinking feeling. And in that moment too, you knew he was locked in. I just had this sinking feeling that if you get a question right like that, you're going perfect, right? You're going perfect. All I could hope was that, he might have a stumble on the bonus. And as that question was getting read, I was just sitting there thinking, miss it, because for whatever reason in my head, I was like, 2 down, I can overcome that. 3 down, that's going to be a tough pill to sort of swallow. And obviously, I had no idea what would happen in round 2, but Kate showcased her talents in that between round moment. There are managers out there that have their style, that works for some of their players. Like, let's ignore what just happened. Let's focus on this, that, and the other. That's not Kate and me. And Kate, there was never a discussion where I said, hey, if I screw up, kind of grab me by the collar and do. That's her knowing, sort of intuiting what I need in a moment. And it's not like joking around. It's not doing this like character back and forth in that moment. And it's sort of grabbed me by the face mask and refocusing me. And that's exactly what I needed. And I'd like to think, that led to the round 2 that I had.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, man, to see that dynamic live and to potentially be at the bar where you and PJ share a beer, I'll let you know right now, I'm buying my tickets as we speak right now. Hold me to my word, gang. I'm going to this dang show.
Nice. Just the thought on that bonus question though. Did you know that, Thomas? Because I thought it was really hard.
I did, only because I stumbled across it. I think it's on IMDb trivia or something like that. But back in July, when they started asking music questions, you're like, well, where can I find? I know a little bit about Star Wars music and whatnot, but it's sort of like looking for cameos for cast questions. Like, I don't know all the cameos, or I didn't before this season, and the nature of those things, you just got to go digging for that stuff. So I knew it. I knew it was that was like a 50-point question though. That type of question has never been asked really, the way that question was asked, where you're referencing another movie by a composer of all people. I kind of hope and pray that that's not where the division is heading, but we'll see.
I thought that, it was a really different question, and that's why I asked, because I thought, is that a common thing that people know that I just didn't?
Yeah, it's like introducing a completely new pitch in baseball. You're like, what was that?
Yeah, exactly. And then going into that second round, you did go first, spun off Revenge of the Sith, landed on Mixed Bag. However, you did go perfect. Dimalanta went next, spun off Clone Wars, unfortunately, and then landed on The Force Awakens. He didn't go perfect. He missed his second question. I nearly, I was kind of just off, because in the second round, in these sometimes Star Wars matches, you do switch off a little bit, expect people to go perfect. And then when I heard incorrect, I was like, what? So how was that, hearing he missed? Did you know immediately that he missed? Or because I know you obviously write things down and you take your time and stuff.
That scene was one, and that counting question was one that I had anticipated in training. We had gone over it. Okay. And I can't tell you why it stood out to me, why, like, the Guavian Death Gang members, you're like, that's I need to know how many there are, but
Right.
for whatever reason that lined up. So I had that down. I knew it's an insanely tough question. It's one of those where, I think mentally he knew exactly what the multiple choice would have been. It would have been like 4, 5, 6 or 3, 4, 5, something like that. And visually there's only a brief moment where you see them all lined up and you can count them. Otherwise they're like, the way the angle of the shot is, or like where Balatik is, it kind of obscures them. And then the Rathtars come out, all hell breaks loose. And it's like, okay, good luck. Hope you counted them before that. So absolutely understand him missing the question. I actually, because I keep score as the match runs for myself, I misscored it. So when the steal happened, I was like, we're tied. Cool. I can at least, maybe keep this afloat and we'll go to sudden death. They announced, and I just didn't realize it was a 4-point swing. So we closed out round 2. They announced the score, and I was like, oh, okay. So that was a nice little boost mentally going into the betting round.
I actually thought the same thing. Like I was scoring it, I was like, oh, okay, they tied. Oh
Mhm.
no, like he's ahead now. So I literally thought the same thing. But so, any thoughts on the match so far, and any questions for Thomas?
With that question, it reminds me when Ken Knapsack was playing, and he's like, "Oh, pause and count them?" question. So that literally came into my head when that question was asked. It's like, "Oh, Ken Knapsack." But going in back to the round 1, when you missed the first question, you seemed like, okay, I missed it. Well, let's go forward. When you missed the Y-Wing question, you looked pissed on your face. So we knew, because we've asked you before, it's your favorite ship.
Yeah.
So were you actually really angry in that moment?
Yeah, well, I was angry. Like, I think my mind sort of, I was upset that I had overcomplicated what the question was asking for. I didn't challenge it because if you ask, like, what's the name of Han Solo's ship, and you say YT-1300, you look like you know some Star Wars stuff, but that ain't the name. And so I was pissed that I had done that, because I genuinely try to avoid doing that sort of thing when mentally thinking about questions. But I just took the bait and ran with it. I don't think he intentionally set that question up like that. And I will point out that the comeuppance is, it's not named anywhere except for the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. So if you want an idea of where the questions are at right now, that's where it is. It's not in any of the comic adaptations. It's not anywhere else in ancillary materials, just in the novelization. So if you open up the visual guide or the cross sections books, comeuppance is nowhere to be found. So like personally, I was also thinking, like, I would much rather be fielding questions from 7 seasons worth of Clone Wars and all the other TV shows than a question like this, because it's so easy to have gaps in armor that are just complete blind spots when you're pulling stuff like that. But I was just angry because I was like, I've put myself into this position, and now we've got to rely on stuff outside of my control to swing this thing. What I'll say is that before the match, and I forget what the interview was, but I said, I'm very, very confident in round 2. I play along. I write the answers down as the question is asked. Typically, players are very good that I've played, and I just have to erase it as soon as I've written it, because they get it right immediately. But I said, if you see my board go up, the answer's on there. There is no situation where the answer is not on there and it's correct, right? So I was just hoping for a gameplay mistake like that. And I think Drew would be the first to admit that, in the moment, and I think he said as much in his post-match, in the moment, he sort of lost sight of the sort of tactical situation there, like what he should have done versus what he needed to do. And, it was sort of very reminiscent in a very different way of his match at Collision, where, Laura Kelly has that steal in round 2, maybe could have played the speed round a little bit differently tactically, knowing the score and the situation there. But, it is really, really tough in the moment to stay focused on those things, because it is just, it seems like you have time to think and when you're watching this, but like in the recording, you're just like bam, bam, bam. Your mind has already sort of moved on to the next one. So you really, really have to be like mentally juggling a lot of things. So I can't say that I would have done something differently in that situation if I were him, because if you're confident in your answer, you're confident. Why do you need to check down and risk that if you have confidence? But the ball bounced that way, or my way, in that instance, and I was fortunate enough to be able to grab it and flip the game on its head there.
Yeah, I've noticed that the Den are really good at stealing in round 2. That's my lesson of the week.
Yeah, I think Saul's like the steal leader for the season right now.
Yeah.
I'd like take a master class from him.
I think it was at the end of his match with Brandon Hanna, where, like you were saying, like he had that board up in round 3 when Brandon was on his final question. So just immediately the second Hanna missed it, just flipped it over. So I could definitely see that being the Den's MO.
Yeah. Well, you see it there was a moment in the Perry Bateman match that was just like classic Schmoedown, where Perry, like, here, I forget, it was like the scream question, but she, like, there's that that like confidence that just like blew up out of her, and it caused Bateman to check down. And he's like, I think afterward, he's like, I knew the answer, but it sort of shook me. And you're like, oh, well, maybe I do need to check down here. So, I that moment was one of my favorites of the entire season, even though he didn't give up the steal to her there.
Oh, God bless Perry Nemiroff, huh? God bless her.
Yes.
She's also playing against the Den, so they might steal some clothes in round 2.
Don't God bless her then.
Yeah. No Jurassic Park questions, please. No horror questions either.
Exactly. Then you do lead the second round, 2018, into the third round. You both bet 3, shock. Although you guys did fool everyone with the goal now display. And then the C3PO question, obviously you both get it right. Mm-hmm. So 23-21. Then round number 4. So Dimalanta goes 9. He passes on 1. You go 9, get 1 incorrect. I believe you knew immediately that you got it incorrect. Is that right?
Yeah, you can see it on my face.
Yeah.
You can see it. And it's just, what did Ross say? We were practicing, and he's giving me, he likes to throw me like older English white guy names and just be like, who is this very like white English sounding name? And I'm like, I don't know. So it was between 2 like white English sounding names. That's all I could think about in that moment. I even because I'll keep score on the board as I'm navigating through, and I just put a dot there. I was like, that, you missed that one. Let's hope he fumbles as well.
Yeah, but luckily for you, it didn't change the score too much. You did obviously lose 1, but you're still leading 31-30. And then going into the 5th round, pretty much everyone goes perfect. And you do obviously win the match there. But I just want to know your 5-pointer in particular, TK338. Again, is that another one that you knew immediately? So I just want to know, like, how tough did you think that was for a 5-pointer?
That was a legit 5-pointer, because it happens in an instant, and it's in this sequence where, like, one of the coolest shots of the entire movie immediately follows it, where the X-Wings skim the lake and the big battle kicks off. So if you blink, you miss it. And it's also like right next to Kevin Smith's cameo. I think he plays the stormtrooper or one of those stormtroopers that's on the radio there. So that one, it sort of stuck out to me in training. I knew it immediately. I mean, I'm not one to like play out and burn JTEs. Like at that point, I don't think that's great sportsmanship to just like drag it out or whatever. But I knew it. And it's just, again, that's where the division is, like 5-pointers like that one. The way that the question was worded, if it hadn't popped immediately into my mind, saying the stormtrooper name could have thrown you a little bit, where you're thinking like, well, is there a name out there, like a first and last name that I missed? Or because if you say what's his designation, what's his call sign, then you're like, okay, well, now I know it's his TK number. But is it like Frank Jones, the stormtrooper that I forgot to read about in this thing? So, but that's all that popped into my head. And I was like, well, this is either you do or die here. You're going to die on TK338 or ride to victory on it. And it happened to be the latter. But I still, I think they cut a little bit. Christian dragged it out. In the moment, it felt like he said, and you're a winner. And it just was like 30 minutes until he said, and new champion. It played out much more quickly on the, it seemed like on the actual recording. But we were just, I felt like I was just sitting there like, oh man, did I get it wrong? So you see it on my face. So that look that I had, the reaction, that was like pure, not surprised because I was confident in the answer, but it was like he sort of produced that in a way with how he just sat there on it. But yeah, that was just pure joy, surprise, just, thankfulness and after I get off camera, it's just exhaustion because you go toe to toe with a warrior like Dimalanta, and it just drains it from you.
Yeah, Jedi mind tricks from Christian, I think. But John, any overall thoughts on the match and questions for Thomas, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe you were saying, especially being at Spectacular, your next title match, whoever that might be against, will be a live match. So looking at your round 4 speed round performance, obviously getting only the one question wrong, but that making that lead extra close, and considering that a lot of times, more often than not, in the live matches, those speed rounds are more the buzzer round types.
Yep.
Is that something where, like, I don't know, did you wish that it was like a buzzer round this time around? Is that something you've been preparing for, obviously, looking ahead? Or has that been something where you're like, I can't focus on that yet, I got to focus on the match at hand?
So early on, we didn't know whether this was going to be live or digital. So I was having to practice both, which was that took a toll, because it's like they're just very different. And Ross, the questions are very different. You go back and watch the buzzer rounds that have happened in Star Wars versus what the speed round has evolved to. Our speed round was tricky. The collision speed round was wickedly tricky. And they've been trending in that direction the entire season. So when we got confirmation that it was digital, or that it really looked like it was going to be digital, I went ahead and gear shifted and said, I cannot dedicate any more time, because buzzer is just a very different strategy. Like you hear somebody like an Ethan Irwin talk about buzzer strategy. That's just not the same mindset that you have going into fast money. It just can't be. So, I have limited time to work on this stuff with, I have 2 kids and still an Army officer. I, have a normal 9-to-5 job and stuff. And so I have to be really, really judicious with my time. Buzzer work just didn't fit into that once it became clear that we weren't going that way. And I honestly don't think, like, if I get to or when I get to Spectacular, I'm not going to look back and be like, gee, I wish I had practiced on the buzzers back in August. That's not going to make a difference. So I'm fully prepared. We're already practicing buzzer stuff already. You getting into that different mindset and the strategy there. Fortunately, I get it. I mean, the Ethan, I think, has sort of pulled back the curtain on what the smartest strategy is, and it absolutely applies. You go back and you watch the other interesting thing. You look at that bracket. There were only 2 people. No, 3 in the entire bracket with speed round experience live: Scrimshaw, Damon, and Laura Kelly. But you look at the way that those speed rounds have gone, and it's exactly as Ethan described. You cannot wait too long. A lot of times there's a lot of very different layered strategy that goes into it. But I'm excited for that. I grew up loving Jeopardy, and like the buzzer strategy in that game, even though you don't really necessarily see it at the center, that's key. I have a buddy that won on Jeopardy, and he was like, you don't do that unless you practice buzzers. It's just you got to know that as much as you know the trivia. So I'm excited for it. It's also become, I was very anti-buzzer before I was in the league, and then the more that I've watched, you go back and watch that Ethan Dan title match. It's just fun. It's fun. I really don't care about the physical element in it. It's all about putting information together and playing out and deciding when you're going to hit the buzzer. I genuinely don't believe I don't buy into this argument about, fast twitch and like gaming skills and stuff. I don't think that directly translates to what you're doing here. Because if it did, you wouldn't see a player like Ethan just obliterating things the way he's done. It'd be all people like Chance or Brendan Meyer, and that's just not the case. So, yeah, we'll be prepped for it. I'm thanking the force that I'm not in that tournament, because it is a murderer's row on both sides, no matter how you slice it.
So going into Spectacular, 2 questions really. So number one, okay, obviously last year, Ace won the Star Wars tournament.
Mm.
He did have to, he was playing obviously live on Twitch,
right?
Including the playing match. I think he won 4. So and then he had to wait for about 6 months to play that match. Obviously, you don't have to wait that long. It's like 3. But what's your thoughts on waiting such a long time to play? Because you've probably played every month now this season.
Yeah.
So and how's your kind of prep going into that? Aware that there is such a long gap. Are you gonna have a break? That kind of thing. So thoughts about the wait?
Yeah, I'm in a kind of break right now. I wouldn't call it a full break like I took. I took a month off over the summer. I just, after that tournament match, I think you have to wind down. I really like Dimalanta's comments from earlier in the season, where he talked about a big change that he made was time off and trying to rebalance himself, because it was a grind for him last season. And I have every ounce of respect. It's his business to talk about his decision in the tournament, but I have every ounce of respect for the decision that he made to sit it out. And I very likely would have done the same had I lost. That said, the layoff, my focus is Ross right now. Ross is in the tournament. Ross has got a massive match against Nikki coming up, so that keeps me in the fight in a way, in a different way. I also have a model to go off of, because I had a gap between the tournament and this match that was about a similar length. And, that I had a very dialed in prep schedule, very detailed, and it worked out well. Obviously, there are tune-ups that need to be made to make sure that I don't have a round one like that again. But no, it served me well, and I think that'll be a good model going forward. And it's just, what fans don't see is that it takes a lot out of you. It just, I've played 5 matches this year. There are not too many players in the specialty divisions that have to make that sort of run. And it's mentally taxing. You just have to take a break or whatever. And I think I go back to Drew again for one of his comments that I really identify with. And he said, he got to a point where it was starting to get not fun watching the movies. And I never want to get to that point. And so you see warning lights flashing on the dashboard like that, and I think you've got to naturally slow down. I want to come into Spectacular and have fun. I don't want to come in there and be like wound up and all angsty and stuff like that. Fortunately, every single person in that tournament is going to be a blast to play against. My blood pressure says otherwise, but I want to have fun with it, and to do that, you have to have a balance with things. I can't wake up and go to sleep doing Star Wars trivia 12 months out of the year. It just, you'll completely burn out, and that's no good for anybody. So I'll take a break, but come December 4th, I'll be ready for whoever claws their way out of that tournament.
Nice. So before I give it to Saul, one last question about that tournament. Ross aside, do you have any who do you think you'll play for the title? Let me say that. So would it be Alex? Obviously, I'm sure you want to play him. Laura, I believe, you said before you wanted to play her. Would it be, Gold Leader again? Thoughts on who you could play for the title?
I don't know that Gold Leader can spell spectacular. That might be that he probably should have to answer that before the tournament begins to see if he could qualify. No, Gold Leader would be fun. I've really, really enjoyed our dynamic and sort of this rivalry that we've developed. He would be a blast to play against, although he's a scary, scary player. Laura would be amazing. I honestly think it's going to be Damon. If we're setting, if I'm checking my bias for Ross and we're sort of putting putting Ross in a box because he's going to run the table. But I think Damon, after that second Dimalanta match, IG got put aside. That his season there got shut down. He's always been like critically dangerous in any situation, but now this is his entire focus. When that belt sat planted firmly in his house for 3 years, going on 4 years. So I know how hungry he is. But man, Alex and I are sort of friends on the outside, but it's like when we step into the ring together, usually at Dragon Con, it's sort of a lights out match, and it'd be a lot of fun. I think the trash talk, which made its way into the promo already. My wife was like, "You seem mean." I was like, "I was just joking." But yeah, I think all the way around, I already told Brian Ward, I was like, if Damon wins the tournament, the poster, I don't care what you do with it. You could put me onto an Ewok body for all I care. But wherever Alex is going to be, you cover up his face with a Y-wing, and that's just how the poster has to be. I don't want to see like a centimeter of his face. It's just all Y-wing.
You put it on his mustache, because he always looks like Wedge, right? Yeah, put it on his
right,
mustache.
just a Y-wing across.
Exactly. So, any thoughts on the match? Questions for Thomas?
Well, first, and I think the most important question: where behind you are you going to put that belt?
I actually think I have a solution, although positioning is going to be tricky. I cosplay with the 501st as Captain Rex in his Phase 3 armor, and I do. This is like a thing you have to admit. I own a mannequin. The armor sits on the mannequin normally. It's been disassembled since I troop, but I'm going to reassemble it and then put the belt around Captain Rex's waist, and somewhere I will find space for that where it doesn't get all cut off.
Absolutely love it. And then
that's
we need
just how
to see
you
it too,
start
right?
every match is first the mannequin's in the chair, then you move the mannequin out.
That's right. That's right.
Now, looking back at your round 4, when you missed that question, I was doing the math and I was like, if he gets all 10, we're tied. This might be another moment for sudden death. You could see it on your face. You knew you missed that. Were you thinking we're going to sudden death now?
Yeah, it's in the moment I was thinking, okay, what's next? Because there were some curveball questions in there that were very missable. So I had to keep my focus locked. Ross, I think, prepped me for that sort of thing because in all the speed rounds that he wrote for me, that like the countless ones, he wrote. I hope he never joins the writing staff because the sort of stuff that he comes up with is like cruel and unusual punishment. So I was very, very familiar with missing questions and getting questions wrong, but it wasn't until I left the room and have to go sit in this like lonely StreamYard by myself, just like staring at my own face, like, well, I hope he passes or misses one. Like there's nothing I can do now. And you just sit, and then they tell you, hey, you're good to go back. And it's edited out here, but they have to tabulate. You guys see it live where it's like the dings and the X's. We don't get that instant feedback. So we sat there for a good, few minutes. I forget how long it was. And I was on pins and needles waiting for what the score was. And I come out of that squeaking ahead by a point. And I said, okay, round 3 is my round, or excuse me, round 5 in this case, but the round 5 format, that's my round. I have not missed a question. I've not missed a 2, 3, or a 5, and it's not going to start here. So that's the mentality you have to walk in with. And, I think that way, because they do a great job of like building up the tension. They're about to ask you your 5 and they're like reminding you of the stakes as you sit there. And if your mind isn't firmly focused on your own knowledge and your prep and listening very intently to the question and what they're trying to get at, it's so easy to get caught up in that commentary and be like, oh no, if I miss this is all over. So every ounce of my focus was, what's the Star Wars answer to this? And fortunately, my brain was able to pull it. So.
And the last thing I have is a statement. Your child is absolutely adorable. I love that. There was a little cameo there.
Yeah. Yeah, Maddie will one day defeat us all, I'm sure.
Certainly
If she's-
Boggs at the very least.
Yeah.
If she's learning any Star Wars stuff from you being her dad, I'm sure.
She could do a good Wookiee roar so far.
Aw.
Nice, but yeah, we're gonna ask you some Discord questions now. Any patrons want to come in and ask any questions for Thomas? Jump in the link. That's on the that's on the Discord. So
Go find it
somewhere. So please, any Discord questions for Thomas?
Yeah. So first, we're starting with Jeremy Miller. He wants to know, what's been your favorite sticker that you've put on your whiteboard?
I really liked it. The translation of it's not going to be fit for your channel, but I had a Mandalorian sticker, the Mythosaur skull, on a black background in the Ace match, I think, and there was a Mandoa phrase on it that just sort of I was trying to focus my confidence in that match, and it's like F around and find out, I think is the translation there.
That's fit for this channel. That's fit for this channel.
So yeah, that was probably my favorite. I hope to bring some along to be able, because a good friend of mine who is a Schmoedown fan, he's an Army vet, and his wife is on active duty, but he has a side business where he designs all the patches that you see, this patch. He does coins, so I'm hoping to bring some along on his behalf to Spectacular, so people can kind of share the love and his talent. But yeah, it's all from one source, Ryloth Relics .bigcartel.com, I think. But if you search Ryloth Relics, but yeah, Aaron's a great guy, phenomenal eye for this sort of thing, and they're just like he has like an endless supply of cool ideas that translate to stuff that I've spent way too much money with him.
I know the feeling. Every time I see like a cool shirt or something, I'm like, I want it. And then I have to convince myself to not buy it.
To quote Palpatine, do it.
Right. And then we have Drunken Prayer asking, pitch a role for Nicolas Cage in a Star Wars movie.
I love the idea of like the rebels, the New Republic are off on some mission. They find like a derelict Imperial cruiser, and there's like a life sign aboard, and it's like crazy Nick Cage, who still thinks that the war is going on, and is running around this like Star Destroyer or whatever, just absolutely like crazy, and they have to deal with him. I love that idea.
Okay, now I need this to be a show or a movie immediately.
That was better than my pitch, which was just Nicolas Cage, just straight up as the guy. Where's my pig?
And our next question from Gift Taylor: would you change any rule in the Schmoedown?
I think I understand why it got cut, but I think a timeout would be a good thing to have. I don't know what it'll look like when they go back to studio matches next year, if there's going to be any kind of semblance of that. But I think it would be good. I think in a situation where I think they originally had it written in a way that it, but for the flow of the match, it would have worked for the competitor and the manager. But you get into a match, I've seen like multiple singles, and I think about Saul a lot in his Collision match and what a timeout might have done for him, where they don't have to be on camera. Kate can just huddle with him, woodshed him, say what he needs to hear in that moment, bring him back to center, and we see what happens after that. And so I'd like to see that from a competitive standpoint, and especially now that I'm so excited for the live format, because I've really enjoyed not hearing what the manager and the player are saying. Like, it is truly sort of like a sports kind of thing where nobody's mic'd up. You're able to talk freely and just say what needs to be said. And the Cantina matches in particular, where the managers are back behind, have been really cool to watch and having that dynamic. But bring back the timeout rule. They can edit it out for the for the final broadcast, but I think that'd be helpful for players. And
a lot of players have been talking about needing a timeout, and I think some players, you need that space to kind of just reset yourself. So it would be cool to see that be implemented. I hope that in the future they'll find a way to do it. But John, do we have any patrons that are waiting to come ask Thomas some question?
We certainly do, as long as he's still here. It is, of course, our dear friend Chris, a.k.a. Drunken Prayer. Drunken Prayer. There he is. Hello.
Hello,
and
sir.
a different background there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've moved rooms. My bedroom's getting carpeted and painted and decorated, so
Mazel.
I'm through the work office right now. But hey, apparently the sound's better according to Michael. Hey Thomas, by the way.
Sound good. Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks very much, buddy. Love to see you again. I think last time you were on, I asked you a really inane question. Can't remember what it was.
I can't remember either. Whatever, you always ask good stuff, so
No, I don't.
It was pitched John Travolta
He really doesn't.
in a Star Wars movie because you were trying to get to this moment of a face-off in space. Face-off. There we go.
Actually, I like that idea as well. Pitch that to Disney next time we see them.
I would love that. Yeah, you like two Claudites in leading roles. That'd be amazing.
Oh, good. I did actually have a question, but then I changed it midway through because I heard you talk about Kevin Smith. So I want you to settle the ultimate debate. You've seen Clerks?
I have.
You know the debate about the second Death Star.
I do.
Were those innocent contractors, or were they willing participants in a war?
So
Death Star?
What's funny is that ties directly into my 9 to 5. That kind of question and that debate. I actually did for the Red Cross. I work for the American Red Cross.
Last thing I forgot.
Yeah. And so I did back on May 4th a presentation on that exact debate. They are still civilians, even though they're working on a big bad battle station. So like when I was in Afghanistan, we had contractors. They're still civilians. They can't be intentionally targeted, but the Death Star itself is a valid military target, and the rules of war recognize that sometimes innocent people are going to die, and so there's a balancing test that happens. And given what that Death Star meant to the rest of the galaxy and to the rebellion, it was an okay military strike. And just unfortunate that all those pipe fitters and toilet installers and whoever else got caught up in it. But yeah, that's a great scene, by the way. That's like all time one of the best movie scenes ever.
Wait, man. Actually,
I was just going to say...
That wasn't a stupid question, actually, now that I think about it.
That was great.
That was a great question.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
I'm literally doing my job on this call.
And I was going to say, if you like that exclamation, like literally go listen to the Legal Geeks, because I listened to your guys' podcast after you told us about it, and it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's a lot of
I'll have
fun.
to check that out.
Thanks.
Hell yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
I thought that was a joke question, but now that I think about it, I'm like, actually, that's a
good.
really good answer.
You just tricked Thomas Harper into some pro bono work.
Yeah, I just did work on this show.
Cheers, buddy. Anyway, thanks very much for coming on. Lovely to see you again.
Cheers. Thanks.
Of course, dude. And I'll say this. I've oft been teased on this show for not knowing much about Star Wars. That's fair, Alan Smithy. I'll plug comedy musical. It's PG-13 rated, so don't watch it with your kids. But there's a show on YouTube called Annie, just spelled A-N-I. It's a musical set between the prequels and the original trilogy about our Darth Vader refinding his love of pod racing. And it's a very goofy blast. They have some jokes about the Death Star specifically.
Nice.
Now they're designed to actually fit together at one point.
That's
And
awesome.
that just reminded me of that. It's a good, fun time.
There is an amazing moment in I think it's one of the Charles Soule Vader comics where he's trying to chase down and like find who Luke is, like his real identity, and he observes him pod racing. Like Luke is pod racing, he's about to set like some record, and Vader is like pissed and crashes him because he doesn't want the spotlight shared by another like human pod racer. So it's this like amazing little moment.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's gang, there's so much good Star Wars to watch, huh? And once you're done with this show, go and watch it. But before you do that, we have to end this show by first bidding adieu to our fantastic guest, Thomas. You've joined us on multiple occasions, and we're, I think, just more and more thankful every single time, especially now that you're a belt holder, that you would be willing to hop on the show, man.
Of course.
We really
it all
appreciate
started
it.
with y'all. It all started with
That's
y'all.
true, and
Only
truly
fitting to bring it back.
we didn't realize how much of a favor you were doing us, truly. So thank you so much. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it already with the Legal Geeks, but is there anything else you would like to plug on the show before your time is up?
Yeah, I would just say I have another podcast that I'm not always I'm a co-host, but we sort of have a rotating staff. It's called the Joint Geeks of Staff. So you can find it on Twitter at the Joint Geeks. And it's a bunch of national security professionals. We've got like an F-15 pilot, me who somehow snuck on there, a State Department Foreign Service officer. And we talk the intersection of science fiction and like real world national security and diplomatic topics. So this past week's episode was on Han Solo and like a look at his style of leadership, which mostly involves like running away when stuff gets tough and you have a bounty on your head. But yeah, so the Joint Geeks, check it out. It's a great podcast. It's a lot of fun to record, and it'll kind of introduce you to a larger world of national security type stuff.
Hell yeah. There you go. Oh, as it's right dramatically on my face of all faces. All right. And then again, as Bugs mentions, it's going to be a couple months before we see you, unfortunately, again on the stage. Are there any words you want to leave the Schmoedown world on before we get to see you defend that belt in December?
Yeah, if you have not bought a ticket to the live event in New York, go take care of that now. I will be there. I'm not competing, obviously, but I will be there. I will be cheering along. The matchups that are happening there. The Griffey Nooms Horowitz match is going to be amazing. We'll see what the that title match in the singles division ends up looking like, and we can. You can get a picture. We could talk. I'd love to share a drink with people out there. I know there are still tickets, so grab your ticket to Brooklyn, and you'll get to meet me. And obviously, come say hi if you're at Spectacular. I can't wait to meet everybody.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Last question, John.
Oh, go right
Thomas.
for it.
A couple of things coming out this year still. Obviously, we've got Star Wars Visions next month. Book of Boba Fett end of the year. What are you looking forward to the most out of kind of what's available? Or if there's, any, other material, whatever, books or whatever, comics.
I want an Andor trailer. I just want to see. They gave that sizzle reel of behind the scenes stuff, but
and the Book of Boba Fett trailer, we haven't seen that trailer yet.
I know. That's on our doorstep virtually. I think we'll get something like that at, I don't know if, I guess D23 has already happened. We're going to get something like that in October for sure. But yeah, I'm beyond excited for that, partially because they really haven't like opened the lid on it. And I really, in this day and age, you see so much behind the scenes stuff or leaks or whatever, to have sort of a lid on a project and have it be as close to a pure surprise as possible is a lot of fun. It's sort of like I knew nothing about the new Matrix movie until that trailer dropped the other day, and it was just like pure excitement, like first thing in the morning watching that. So all Star Wars is good Star Wars, and we're so fortunate to be living in the middle of like a tidal wave of content, which is really cool.
Hell yeah. That's going to be a Star Wars must watch for me, is when that Studio Trigger episode of the Star Wars anime drops. Because, I've already seen the friggin' forearmed. I love it. Thomas, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for talking all this Star Wars with us. And we will see you soon, my friend. Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, I'll take care.
Thanks,
bye now.
Yeah.
Did you see that? He didn't correct me when I called him my friend. That's how I trick people into friendships. Gotcha, Thomas.
Damn it.
Woo! I'm the champ. What I'm not the champ of is
the heat's getting to you, John.
It is really getting to me, gang. I got to be honest. I mean, it hasn't bled through yet. We're still good. But what we simply have to do now at this point is call in our wonderful producer, Mike Shea, to talk a little bit about what we are predicting for the next week in the Schmoedown world. Obviously, we don't know what Star Wars match we're getting just yet. That's okay. We talked about them all. We're excited for them all. It's just going to be a surprise treat, and who doesn't like that? What we do have is 4 different matches to be talking about in the world of the singles division, including a singles title match to discuss. But obviously, first, Saul, we got to talk about how I'm losing at a game of remembering or thinking of who's going to win games.
No one had a good week, I don't think, right? Am I right, Saul?
I had an okay week.
I did okay.
Okay.
Me and
I got you. Yeah. So we'll say, Boggs, you got 1 point. Sean got a fat goose egg. I got 2. What'd you guys do?
I think we each got 3, right?
Okay.
There you go.
3 days.
So Mike at the bottom with 16 points.
No, I had
Then
2.
we have John with 59 points. Myself
Getting
with 68. Sean with 70. So I'm so close to beating him. So close. And Boggs with 80 points.
Bad week.
Man.
What can I say?
Oh, man. Well, hey,
Disappointed.
thankfully, you've got some chances now, Boggs, to make up some ground again as we start with this first match. Peggy Gubbins of the Den, the faction that we just got to spend some wonderful time with one of their members. Peggy Gubbins has had a kind of tough season so far, but 1-1, going up against the former singles champion of the world, Adam the Coyote Collins. Oh, this is going to be an uphill battle, but not an unwinnable battle, to be certain, because we did just see Adam Collins take a loss to JTE. That's some important context. So, Boggs, I will start with you on this one. Who do you have winning?
In tournaments, there's always one upset. There's always one big upset, especially the singles tournament, singles bracket. I think Saul is in the chat. Please tell me I'm not a fool for doing it, but I'm going to pick Peggy for the upset win. I don't know why. Just, obviously Adam is great, of course. He did lose his last singles match, but, I feel like rolling the dice. So, I can gamble a bit based on my lead. And I'm going to go for an upset because I don't think we've had a really, really big upset this year. As far as off the top of my head, someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but no huge upset like Perry, Kalinowski, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go for Peggy. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think at this point so far, the discussion around upset of the year has been JTE beating Adam Collins, which is kind of interesting when you consider how much of a legacy player JTE is. But yeah, I think it just goes to show how high Adam Collins' stock is right now in the Schmoedown world at large, that folks are calling that a massive upset. Saul, I don't know if you also have Sean's answers on hand, but really I'm most interested in yours. Who do you have winning this match?
Sean is in the document, but he hasn't put answers in yet. I think he's waiting on us. He's waiting on us, which is a cheap
all
move.
The time.
Cheap move.
He's a cheap guy. What do you expect?
But I'm going with Adam Collins.
There we have it. Mike, who do you have winning?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Boggs. I think we're a little past due for a really big upset in one of these brackets. That being said, I'm still going to go with Adam Collins on this one. I think Peggy. Peggy would definitely be a big upset, and odds of the universe are it could happen. But I kind of agree with Leo in the chat. Collins needs this.
Yeah,
he really needs this. So I'm going to go with him.
There you go. As for me, I definitely don't think y'all are crazy, specifically Boggs for picking Peggy to win this match. I think for me, I'm still kind of pinning my hopes on the upset of the year being Paige taking down Ben Bateman. So for now, I am going to give this one to Adam the Coyote Collins.
Also,
just
add a bit more spice to it. I could be completely wrong, but I noticed they did change Deception and Corruption at the teams tournament. So I'm thinking, okay, if Adam Collins lost, maybe to give him another chance at some matches this season, maybe they've thrown in Deception. But that's a long shot. It's just in my internal monologue.
We got the guy playing the big odds over here. Is that what the movie Moneyball was about? Boggs, are you? Who knows?
Boggs doesn't know enough about
Mystic
baseball.
Moneyball.
This is more interesting than Moneyball.
I've seen Moneyball, so I got that reference. But
there we go. I haven't. So how about that? Next up, we've talked about it a couple times, but let's just do it once more rapid fire with feeling, as we have Brendan Meyer of the Mercs. Now the number 2 faction. We didn't talk about this with Thomas, but Thomas Harper's win just kept the Quirky Mercs from becoming the number 1 faction. So kudos, good sir. But now the Mercs have a chance to get some more points on the board going up against Jacoby Bancroft of the Stars. The Stars being a faction that has points. They're the me, and that's why I wanted to give Roxy so much love. But Saul, let's bounce on over to you. Who you got winning?
Brendan Meyer.
There we go. Mike?
How do you go against Brendan Meyer? Seriously, he's just great.
There we go. I know one of us had Jacoby Bancroft winning this match. Boggs, was it you?
I did, but this is like the third time now we've made a prediction on this match, and I've been going bankrupt every time. So something's telling me just change it. So that's like my warning. So I think I'll change it to a friend of mine now.
There you go. Fair enough. As for me, I will also be going with Brendan Meyer. So it's a little bit of a sweep on our hands, but that's going to mean perhaps that Jacoby Bancroft winning this match will be the upset of the year, at least when it comes to us. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. Next up, another corruption match to talk about. Mike the Killer Kalinowski trying his hand at the singles tournament once more, this time going up against Paul Walter Hauser of the Usual Suspects, which is an interesting pick for Sam Levine and his 4 choices. Again, one of these celebrities where it's like, yeah, they're a celebrity, but they have, in fact, shown some real interest in being in this game. So it's going to be exciting to see how Paul is able to match up against Mike. And Mike, how about we start with your pick? Do you have Mike winning, or do you have Paul?
I got Mike winning. Mike Kalinowski is just riding high right now. Kalinowski all the way.
I think that's fair. Obviously, Mike did struggle a little bit as far as matching chance in their team's match, but Mike Kalinowski, if you're calling him a bad player, you're a fool, and we just don't have the tape on Paul yet. So I got to go with Mike Kalinowski as well. Boggs, who do you have winning?
Kind of reluctantly picking Mike because, I don't know, I just kind of like the way Paul Hauser played last time. And, like sometimes these celebrity players, they're like sneaky good, like Kevin Smith. I don't know if they ask, I don't know, because Mike's, hasn't had a single match in a long time since Perry, right? Well, excluding teams. So it's been a long time. Maybe if he's a bit rusty, who knows? So I'll still go for Mike, but not 100% confident.
There we go. Well, now, Saul, it's up to you. I don't know how confident you are feeling in your pick, but are we going to have ourselves yet another sweep in predictions?
Go Mike Kalinowski.
There we go. Fair enough. Unfortunately, that means it's now to the point of the show where this is a match I don't know how to call yet. We're talking about the title match of Marisol McKee representing Corruption, going up against Ethan Irwin. And I'll tell you right now, gang, I really don't know, because Ethan is on a massive tear. Oh my God. This dude is the scariest he's ever been in this game. He's got a team's title shot down the pipeline. He just won the belt off of Dan Murrell after years of going up against the dude and not been able to get that second win over him. But you have Marisol McKee, who's been working her way through some really fearsome competitors. Kevin Smith shenanigans notwithstanding, she had that incredible match versus Jeannine. She had a great match against Video Drew. And we've seen Marisol go toe-to-toe with some of the greats in singles and in teams before this moment. And listen, we're talking about a Philadelphian. We're the underdogs. That's our whole fucking deal. So the fact that she's going up against the current best that we have in the game right now, this is kind of the perfect circumstances. And that's why I'm so friggin' torn. Boggs, so often you have the answers. And this is a week where arguably you need the answers the most because you just kind of biffed it last week. Yes. So I got to ask you. This is the one time I get to dunk on Boggs. It's the one time it'll ever happen. Let me have it. Mike, Boggs, who do you have winning this match?
I'm pretty confident in picking Ethan. Basically, you just summarized what I was going to say, John. His run this season, he is the best player in the game for me. Pound for pound, whatever division, he's the best player. He's the most impressive or impressed that I've been in any individual. And also, if I'm being honest and objective, looking at their run over the last few matches, even kind of just in singles alone, win over Ben Bateman, win over Paul Oyama, win over Dan Murrell, and to beat the title, as opposed to Marisol, who's beaten, I think, Vinny Mancuso, Video Drew, and Kevin Smith, right? And Jeannine. Okay, I'd kind of put her wins, they're like B players. No disrespect to anyone there, it's just my opinion, but I think Irwin's wins are A players. So I just think there's a little bit of a different prep going in. I do think Marisol is an A player, but just in terms of the level of opposition, things like that, I'm kind of signing with Ethan for the win. But I think really, secretly, I think everyone wants Marisol to win this match, really, but I'm going to go with Ethan.
It's that Philadelphia charm, I'm telling you. But gang, breaking news. There, yep.
I
Look
was.
at that.
Where's
He
Thomas?
lost,
I was
He
going to
lost.
show him my dark saber. Where's Thomas?
Wow.
A little
Is he
late.
gone
A
already?
little
He's
late
longer.
there.
He's one with the
Sean,
Force.
you're not
Oh.
tricking me. That's a Beyblade. That's a Beyblade if I've ever seen one.
No, I was saying I was going to show him my dark saber. Where'd he go? Is he gone already?
He's
He's
gone.
one with
He's
the
gone.
Force.
Sorry, he's gone, buddy.
Show us the handle at the hilt.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Wow, the hilt makes a
That's
sound
beautiful.
too. That's crazy.
How are you guys doing? I'm sorry I missed the show.
It's all right.
Well, we need your picks, Sean.
Yeah. Sorry. Damn thing. Let me look at the
So
document.
first
Okay.
one, who we say?
Technology.
Okay,
First one
Adam
is-
Collins versus Peggy Gubbins.
Big fan of Peggy, obviously, but gotta go with Adam. I'm sorry. Sorry, Peggy. Gotta go with
Brennan
Adam.
Meyer versus Jacoby Bancroft.
This is actually more hard to predict than it sounds, but at the same time, Brendan. Well, all right, Brendan, how can you go against the kid?
Mike Kalinowski versus Paul Walter Hauser.
Surprising win that Mike had over Chance. Sorry, not Chance, or Chandru. But I think Mike's might be on a road to having more than one title. So I'm gonna go with Mike.
And let's roll you into Ethan Irwin versus Marisol McKee.
I jumped in as Boggs was kind of breaking down Marisol's path to this match, and I kind of agree with him. I think Ethan's obviously had the much tougher road to get there. No disrespect to Marisol, but I think Ethan is a much more seasoned player, especially in this kind of title match. Marisol has never been in a 5-round match before, and I think with that experience and Ethan's the kind of season he's had, I think Ethan's going to take this one.
Which is being filmed tomorrow, right? I believe.
Yes.
yeah.
At the Cantina.
Yep.
John, take it away. I took your job for you for a second.
No, it's quite all right because guess what? I'm going to bounce it right over to you. It's
Ooh.
back to you. So we got to get your pick on this match as well. Who do you have between Marisol and Ethan?
Go on Marisol, baby.
There we go. How about that? We are 2-1 right now. Mike, who do you have?
Right now, I'm kind of feeling like Ethan Irwin. I'm gonna get nerdy as shit right here. I think Ethan Irwin is the Witch King. He's the Black Rider from Lord of the Rings, and I feel like in this case, Marisol McKee is Awen, and she is no man, and she is gonna just drive that sword to the hilt. And yeah, I think Marisol's coming in swinging hard with this one. Yeah, she's gonna mix Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and stab the Witch King with the darksaber. Because that's in my head.
So The Witcher.
Oh, I got to watch that anime when we're done with this show. But
Right.
that means right now, gang, it's 2-2 with TUSA predictions. And I got to break the tie. I've got to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I got to call against one of these two. And I am picking Marisol McKee. You can't tell me that we got a Philly native in the championship and ask me to not root for him. Are you crazy, dude? Absolutely, Philly is walking away with another belt. Marisol is somebody who has been working for this, even if she hasn't necessarily had to face as many ex-champions as Ethan has had to, because he's had to face quite a lot. This is something that Marisol has been grinding towards for a while now. We've got another woman going for the belt. We love to see that. Ethan, he's been doing a little bit of everything at all times. And at a certain point, it's just got to break. There's going to be a moment within the next year, even if Ethan's able to get all 3 belts, there will come a moment where he breaks and loses a belt. And I'm predicting that it's going to be now. I think he's going to be the team's title holder along with Liz when this year is done. But I think singles is getting passed over to Marisol McKee. It's a Corruption Invitational, folks. And with that, that means the TUSA Invitational of having Sean and Mike both on together, both producers.
First time, right?
That has to come to a close because the show's over.
Maybe.
First time,
Yeah,
last
okay.
time. Uh-oh. Hopefully not last time. Hopefully not. 'cause we
It
love you
probably
both.
won't be the last time.
I hope not. Well, Sean, I don't know how long we have you here, so let's get to your plugs first. What do you want the people to see?
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter, even though I'm not on there as much, but just my name, Sean Barreto. You can also find me on the Pop Culture Universe with Soul and Boggs, just reviewing trailers and movies. We just did I don't even know what we did, Boggs.
What if when we done?
We did What If. You guys did What If. We also did Shang-Chi review,
Yeah,
so you guys can look for that on the trailer as well. And
Matrix.
Looking forward to the Matrix trailer was very, very good.
I actually can't. I didn't hear any of that because of the noise. So
I have to point out that I saw Sean laughing at Mike when Mike said he was going to get a little bit nerdy, and Sean is the one holding a lightsaber. I have to mention that.
See, but I'm not getting nerdy. I am a nerd because I have this. Because I spent a lot of money buying it. So that's
of course, more than fair. More than fair. Mike, the big nerd. What would you like the people at home to watch?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. Mike Shea. Check out my podcast, Space and Last new episodes every Thursday. I'm the
Come on, Sean.
Sword.
Boys and their toys, eh?
Boys and their toys. That's why I thank the Lord God above that we have Soul, huh? Thank every god in the Greek pantheon for Soul. Where can the people find you?
I'm just going to say what Sean said and throw it over to Boggs.
and Boggs?
Yes. Thanks everyone for watching Streamlabs, and thanks to Thomas Harper as well. Next week, another big show. Can't wait for that. Please like the video. Like I said, drop a comment. You'll get a shout out next episode. Check us out in the Pop Culture Universe. Obviously, What If episode dropping next week. Any trailer reactions, reviews, all that good stuff. So see you all next week.
Absolutely. As for me, at John Barr Tweets on Twitter and on Instagram, TikTok, at John_Barr. I've got 5 now. Ooh, fancy. Twitch.tv/John Barr. That's where I exist. I'm thinking either on Twitch or my YouTube, which look up John Barr. I was thinking about maybe reviewing all the What If episodes when they are all out. But I also want to say, hey, I've seen at least a couple. You follow me on a different places, so I thought I'd just put it out there. If there's anything you want to see me talk about on my show, let me know. If there's anything you want to see the 3 wonderful people who make up Pop Culture Universe, let them know as well. If there's anything you want to see Mike talk about on like his heavy metal podcast as well. Is that what Basement Lounge is about? Is it more comedy than heavy metal based?
I have a heavy metal one too, but
you have that's why. Ask him about both. Let's we can only make all the content that we do because of you, audience at home. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget patreon.com/John Roca is a way to keep the fun going with all of us in the broad Outlaw Nation world. And don't forget, you can also leave comments at the end of this episode. Let us know what you thought and what you're excited to see next. But that is going to be it for this episode of the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow. We'll see you next Saturday. Have a good night.